Perfect afternoon for football here at the Telstra Dome. Bright sunshine, September not far away. And Brad Johnson, the captain of the Western Bulldogs, tossing the coin with Ben Dixon, who plays his 200th game for the Hawks this afternoon. And Brad Johnson will kick left of screen the Western Bulldogs in this opening term as we welcome former Hawthorn Premiership player and coach David Parker.
Gee, I'm pleased to be here, Dwayne. I'd have to say, as you suggested, perfect conditions for football. Both have a fair amount, a reasonable amount, a high amount relying on this game, so it'll be interesting to see.
It's great to see Brad Johnson there. Rodney Edge, he stacked his forward line there. He's got Brad Johnson, Luke Darcy, Ackermanis, Murphy and Gene Siracusa. So that's
it'll be
5
interesting
goals,
the matchup.
goals.
My word, be interesting the matchups that come from that.
Down on the boundary line is 300 game playing dog Rowan Smith. Rowan, welcome.
Well, thanks very much, Dwayne. Well, the September air is well and truly in the air today. Just a magnificent day for football. As they say in football, no excuses for the players out there today. 21 degrees, and both teams looking towards, obviously, playing in finals. Hawthorn's probably got a little bit more to play for, but the Bulldogs are looking to certainly spoil their party today.
Umpires this afternoon, Dean Margetts, Damien Sully and Stefan Grun. 3 of the best in the business entrusted with this important game. Both teams with a lot to play for in front of a good crowd here at the Dome, and we are underway. Skipper in the ruck against Campbell. Cross and Mitchell collide. Lewis, West in there with him. Ladson slips it to Sam Mitchell. He sends it long inside 50. Franklin getting back. Couldn't take the mark. Will Crummett. A little shepherd from Dixon. Tries to slip a handball over the top. Dixon to Boyle. Dixon. And they've worked it back inside 50. Bouncing ball. Hard for Hodge. Ladson had it. Lost it. Morris. Skipper. And now Ackermanis on the wing with Guerra. Little hold. And it'll be Guerra's ball.
That important matchup you talked about before the game, Dan, you're spot on. Williams has got Franklin. I think that's crucial today.
Brent Guerra played under Alistair Clarkson at Port Adelaide and at Central Districts, and he recruited him to come and play under him at Hawthorn as well. Crawford having an outstanding season, and now Robert Campbell just outside 50, and he spears the pass toward Roughhead, but it was misdirected, and Harris takes the mark at full back.
That's going to be a great duel as well, Harris and Roughhead here today. Ackermanis starting in the half-forward flank, already getting a possession in the back half.
Get some boos from the Hawthorn fans. Power through the hands of Ray to Skipper. Caught, dispossessed, could have been ball. Play on advantage, although Mitchell backtracks to Bateman, and he turns it over back to Harris again.
This is what they did last round, wasn't they? 30 kicks to Harris.
So Ackermanis sends it long and high, hoping for West. Guerra's with him at the moment. Gillam caught by Murphy. Guerra does well to Sewell. Pokes it towards Mitchell in the midfield, and if it bounces, he can run. Doesn't quite sit for him. He had to wait.
Ladson on the inside.
And Ladson can go for home from 48. And he spears it low and wide, and it's almost a win. It's better than a behind at least. We'll get a ball in.
Fascinating. Mitchell looks like he's got West. It's a head-to-head, inside, 2 inside players. This will be a fascinating duel also.
See Sam Power here and Luke Hodge. Sam Power's had some big jobs of late. Goodwin, Travis Johnson, Harvey and Embley.
Skipper gets in front, but Crawford read it well, brought down by West. And we'll get a ball up.
And so far, Dan, I've been looking for the one sitting back, which Hawthorn's been so good. Doesn't look like it's on the books at the moment. Might be a shootout as we'd like to see.
Bounce a little wobbly, and Roughhead stole it to Franklin. Left foot around the body. Getting back, Morris got a hand on it. Just didn't lift the kick enough. And Morris got back on the line.
It's all Hawthorn at the moment. 4 inside 50s to 0 to the Bulldogs. The positive for the Bullies. Hawthorn haven't snared a goal yet.
Gilby to Boyd. And now West. Boyd. Power. Brought down. Cooney. West. Hargrave. Skipper. Nice one-hander.
Good run from Skipper there.
But a couple of options peeling off for him and getting on the end of it, Syracuse, and he is within range. Although he doesn't like his chances, hits Murphy. Beautiful pass.
Well, that's beautiful foot skills.
Oh, they did on the way, didn't they? 3 magnificent kicks.
We've seen Hawthorn go forward 3 or 4 times and haven't used the ball that well. If the Bulldogs use the ball as well as they did in this passage of play, as we see Murphy take a great grab, Hawthorn will have to be on their game.
Normally an accurate kick, Robert Murphy. Kicked 19 goals, 11 this year. And doesn't give them the perfect start. 1 inside 50 for 1 goal would have been handy.
Good to see Ruckman when Skipper turned inside. Then he thumped that on his left foot to hit Syracuse. It was just a beautiful kick for a big man on the turn.
Where entrusted with the kick in.
Hawthorn have been terrific playing, using the ball from the point kick in this year.
Kicks to himself and then beautifully measured to Sewell. He sends it long and high in the Lewis direction. Can't rake it in with the one hand. Cross. West. Hargrave. Syracuse is held up on the wing. Good crowd in here at the Dome. Massive connotations for these two clubs. Long kick, wide kick. Farron Ray will need to fly. And it was touched. And we'll get a ball in.
That was an excellent kick in the end, because if you had to use the ball in the corridor, Hawthorn have been very good at guarding the corridor. Long down the line was the only option he had.
Richie Vandenberg into the team for the Hawks. Smith, Taylor and Ellis on the bench with him. And the ball comes up to Farron Ray. And he has the shot. And he kicks the opener.
Well, they've been in for 2, Dan. 2, I think, good uses is on the way in. 1 finish was disappointing, but that second one on the turn was outstanding. And you're quite right. I mean, these sides are going to set up the way they're playing now with nobody back sort of making it difficult. Your usage going in has got to be spot on. They delivered twice to Harris at the bottom end. Hawthorn have two shots on goal. Been absolutely terrific.
And importantly, all their best players have got a little bit of the pull. Ackermanis, Cross, West, Murphy. And
I think the one thing the coach said prior to the game was that it'll depend on how much pressure that we're able to put on the Western Bullies, and that, quite truthful, hasn't come as yet.
Farron Ray, one of the finals heroes in that big win over Collingwood last year, kicked a couple of goals in that game. Bulldogs didn't kick on September last year, but that was a good victory. Hodge to Lewis. Kick smothered by Ray. Lewis fights in, got met a little high by Morris. Dixon to Hodge. Was aiming for Boyle and knocked away by McDougall, but to Crawford to Hodge. Back inside 50. Franklin flies, can't pluck it. Roughhead. Franklin caught, throws it back to Roughhead. It was allowed. Skipper. He's done this a couple of times now. Over Ackermanis' head this time. Cooney gets back but can't trap Sewell, nor can Ackermanis. And now Boyle and Roughhead on the move, and Franklin got there and took the mark.
It was a magnificent mark, but it started from Wade Skipper. He just has to work on his decision making. They're under pressure. He tried to squirt one through the midfield. It was always fraught with danger. This is an interesting duel here. Williams on Franklin. Franklin's moved down to the goal square to put the young fella in a position where he's pretty uncomfortable, David.
Oh, he's better up the ground. He loves to run and carry the ball with the athleticism he brings to the game. Yeah, sad thing to Hawthorn, still haven't been able to develop a quick crummer. It's gone in a number of times. But when I looked, if they had dropped, no one there with any speed to crumb it.
He's had an outstanding year. 60 goals, 45, Lance Franklin. And that's a miss to the near side. He's had more shots at goal than any other player in the competition, including Jonathan Brown, who he could reel in with 2 games still to play. Jonathan Brown 10 goals in front of him and looks like winning the Coleman. But anything could happen when Lance Franklin's in it. West, Cooney, over the top, Power, and now West again. Good movement, spearing pass, and Syracuse takes the mark and is within range again.
Western Bulldogs have started the way we thought they would have, David, just the run and carry, but more importantly, their ball use is lace out.
Has been twice as good as Hawthorn in terms of pressure and unpressured foot delivery. It's been twice as good.
And the long launch, Gilby, and they combine beautifully. Set play, and they've got 2 out of it.
This absolutely infuriates me across the competition every week. The designated kicker It's standing off 10 metres in a better position. Everybody understands and knows it before the game. They would have talked about the what-ifs. Not a single person put any pressure on Gilby. He's been allowed to kick, not an easy goal, it's a long and difficult kick, but he's the boy.
Well, it's just concentration in the end. As we see the handball to Gilby, we know he can kick the ball 55, 60 metres. You've just got to play 2 metres goal side. You've got to play the percentages on the dangerous designated kickers, and Lindsay Gilby is one of the best in the competition.
27 possessions last week, and the Bulldogs lost. Lindsay Gilby grew up with Chris Grant's poster on his wall. Chris Grant not taking his place in the team this afternoon. He'll play game 341 next week, and maybe his last. But final still on the agenda for the Dogs if they win this afternoon. From the ball up, Boyd tried to knock it out. Vandenberg, captain, back into the Hawks team, slips it to Franklin.
I really like this, Dwayne. You have a look at the centre bounce. If Hawthorn can get the ball out of the centre, they open it up for Lance Franklin. They've identified young Williams, who's pretty uncomfortable down at full-back. So it'll be interesting to see whether Rodney Eade puts his designated full-back to full-back, which is Brian Harris, and bring Williams up the ground.
And so much space, Dan, between the ball up in the middle and the forward on the last line. So much space.
Left foot, starts at left, tries to bring it back, and he's kicked 2 behinds with his first 2 kicks at goal this afternoon. Rowan Smith.
Well, the Western Bulldogs ruck division today is probably given a little bit of weight away from Campbell and Taylor, but the skipper and Cam White are in the top echelon of runners at the Bulldogs, so they're really going to try and stretch them and run them around the ground today.
Well, it's great to see Cameron White. He started his career as a tallish defender, so it'll be interesting to see how he goes in the ruck today.
Gilby, Eagleton, and now Hargrave. They're trying to move it outside 50. Power, Boyd, cross. They get it out and long to Johnson. Takes the mark.
The Bulldogs' hands at the moment are sensational. They have not missed a target yet.
Now Gian Syracusa, who again is just outside 50. Darcy's in the goal square calling long. Short instead. Eagleton likes his chances from 52. Darcy's got 2 to beat, and he gets the free, beats them both.
Interesting play there from Trent Crowd. He knew he had Taylor, the ruckman, in the spot, so all he had to do was lay off and allow Darcy to initiate the contact. Then he could have come over the top of the spoils. We see the hands were all over him, so just a bit of lack of communication there between the 2 boys.
Yes, a lack of understanding, got a bad result. Crowdy, he's just say, should have got off and got over, let the other bloke push and shove, no doubt about it.
Well, Darcy could have given the free away. He had 2 to beat. He's conceded 37 frees this year, Luke Darcy, the 3rd worst in the AFL he is for giving frees away. Left foot kick is perfect. Magnificent start for the Dogs.
Well, it certainly is, Dwayne. It's amazing. Hawthorn have gone inside their forward 50, David, 7 times for 3 points. The Western Bulldogs been in 4 times for 4 shots on goal, 3 goals won. So if you didn't look at the scoreboard, the game you'd think would be in Hawthorn's favour, but at the moment it's the ball use of the Bulldogs versus the inaccuracy of Hawthorn.
Absolutely. Both the hand stuff coming through the middle and that last forward thrust was brilliant. And the kicking, both in field kicking and for goal, has been significantly better. So the skill level at the moment, when in possession, has been totally with the Bulldogs.
So for those unaware of the scenario, try and simplify it. The Bulldogs need to win their last 2 games. They play the Kangaroos here at the Dome next Sunday, and hope St Kilda, Adelaide and Essendon lose next week to make the finals. It's possible. Taylor sends it inside 50. Early jump from Roughhead. Franklin gathered the crumbs, slipped it toward Hodge, but stolen back by Harris. Hargrave, tough bouncing ball. Everett, and he has out wide Cameron White. Hands off to West. Short to Cooney. Good movement. White peels off. Back inboard to Everett. He spent it before he earned it. Cooney wants to come back inboard. Looped a handball away, but straight to Crode, who tries to concede a behind and succeeds from 20 metres out. And he's told, why didn't you take us on? 3-2 plays 3 behinds.
It was a good percentage play in the end because he really had nowhere to go other than the points.
So Brown to Gillum. And now Ellis made his debut in round 1 this year. That horrendous loss by Hawthorn to the Brisbane Lions at the Gabba, arguably their worst performance of the year. The Hawks back to Gillum. Hawthorn, of course, can move back into the top 4 with a win today, and they can still grab second spot on the AFL ladder heading into the finals, but they'd need a few things to go their way as well to do that. Campbell-Brown to Mitchell. Sewell peels off. It's a wobbler. Tough ball for Campbell, and White keeps his feet. Campbell went to ground. Little one-hand attempt from Cross. Won't be happy with that. Campbell fought in well. Hands off to Ellis. Vandenberg. Franklin calls short. Looks up and he goes longer. Boyle in the pocket. Good fist. McDougall thumped it toward the boundary. Tried to knock it all the way out. And it succeeds in rolling out. We'll get a ball in.
Good forward play there. We saw Franklin come out of the square. Vandenberg didn't hit him up, and then he went to Boyle.
He ignored him, yeah, but he opened the space. That's a good thing that Franklin didn't expect to receive the ball.
Back into play. Boyle slaps at central, but Harris was waiting for it to West, to Gilby. Well, they're confident at the moment, the Bulldogs. Last time they met, round 5 at the Melbourne Cricket Ground this year, the Bulldogs won by 17 points. They also won the last time they met here at the Dome, so they've got a good record against the Hawks. Met once last year, and it was the Bulldogs by 21 points that day. Short pass to the outer side to Ray. Hargrave. And now Jen Siracusa, who can feed back onto it. No, he can't.
He's going to worry Birchall.
Well, he is. It was interesting
over
there.
The ground, led him to the ball, got him round the ball, and had it not gone out of bounds, he would have been there 30 metres before Birchall.
Scotty West coming off for a spell. Cross on. Had 7 possessions already, Scotty West.
Crow, third man up. Darcy tried to get it away. And Cooney a little overzealous with the attempt at a tackle.
One matchup's working already you talked about. It's power on Hodge. I don't think Hodge had a constructive possession of the ball yet, which is good.
Birchall gave it to Guerra, who finds Smith. He's got Lewis, but it'll have to be a long kick, and he won't get there because getting back Cross. Back with the flight, body on the line. And Lewis was blinded by the sun there, I think.
I think you're right, David. Great example for all youngsters watching that. Daniel Cross only had eyes for the ball. Fantastic.
Super effort.
Everett. He heads wide. Murphy's lurking and didn't hold it long enough, according to the umpire. It's still alive for the Dogs, though. Boyd tries to trap it. Needs a handball target. Eagleton was on, but he missed him. Smith, Eagleton, Cooney left it behind. Smith again. Cooney wraps him up. He dropped it. Bulldogs want ball, and they get it.
It was a first mistake from Cooney on the fumble, but it was great play because he made a mistake and thought, instead of putting my hands on my hip, I'll get after the ball, and created a tackle on Joel Smith, and he's got a resultant shot on goal. We just see Cooney here strip Joel Smith of the ball, so that was great football, Cooney.
Great defensive effort. After a very unlucky call on that mark, I reckon it was taken absolutely clean before it was punched out. That's a mark. It doesn't have to stay in the hands for a long time. It's just got to be caught clean.
This is a massive kick. We're about to tick into time on opening term, and this to make it 4-0 for the quarter so far, and it's there. Hawks are on the ropes early.
Well, they certainly are, Dwayne. It's
been dominated.
Well, they have, and look, Rodney Eade, to his credit, he's gone to work on a lot of their playmakers, as you said, yep. David, Sam Power and Hodge. Hargraves is doing a very good job at the moment on Chance Bateman. The run and carry. Gilby's on Clinton Young, so they're the guys that run, carry, deliver the ball to the Hawthorn forwards, and at the moment, those runners have been under pressure.
All right, that's part of the reason they haven't distributed the ball well. That's part of the reason, but they'd be terribly disappointed by their foot usage, Hawthorn, going forward, whereas I don't think Western Bullies have made an error now with delivery into their 50.
Already the Clang account is 6 Hawthorn, 2 Bulldogs.
Well, that'd be right, I reckon.
West having a rest. Johnson also on the bench for the Dogs. So a couple of their big name stars. Maybe just a couple of minutes there and then finish the quarter on the field. Campbell down to Mitchell, to Lewis, and now Young with the left. Franklin's on the move. He's got it, but he's 50 from goal, and he's got the yips early.
Well, he's on fire. He's coming up for his 7th disposal. So he's finding the ball. Unfortunately, he's just kicked the 3 behind so far today. Could quite easily have been 3 goals.
Well, he often starts with 2 or 3 behinds and finishes his day with 6 or 7 goals. So you sort of got your fingers crossed, Dwayne, that that's going to happen.
Well, he didn't have a possession in the last quarter last week against Port Adelaide when Port stole that game from the Hawks, and he's missed again. Lance Franklin.
4 behinds. That really does hurt the scoreboard of the Hawthorn Football Club. But more importantly, the confidence of the midfield, David. You're continually getting the ball in there. You're using the ball well. You give it to your playmaker, but unfortunately, he's not sealing the deal.
Exactly.
Boyd back to Gilby.
Who is now the loose man in defence for the Western Bullies.
Scott Skipper long, ignored it. Eagleton into trouble and did well to get out of it. Central ball, McDougall.
Well, we see Gilby's missed a chunk of the season. You can see why he's such an important player. He's the playmaker.
Everett could go on to Ackermanis. Oh, he sold the dummy and goes alone and misses. Behind.
I reckon that was probably the right decision. Acker was going past and to the outside, and Acker would have probably put it away. But he got himself in a good position there, Everett, to run and cut through. Should have actually kicked the goal.
It's never the right decision if you miss.
No, that's true, Dwayne. We can argue that.
Guerra. Long ball, Vandenberg from 4 deep, forced to spoil. McDougall. He's dragged down through the legs of Everett. And the umpire might be forced to sort this out with the ball up on the wing.
Well, the Hawthorn midfield are doing the job, Dave. You have a look at the clearance count, 7-2. Hawthorn have won the last 6 clearances.
So the forward work's come out of the back half for the Western Bullies, no doubt about it.
Vandenberg bumped by his own man, dropped it. Ackermanis sends an inside-out torpedo to half forward. They're impossible to mark. Sewell and Brown and now Ellis combine to the open side to Smith.
Nothing to go to, Dwayne. Absolutely nothing on.
He's got Gillum inboard, but needs to find him.
Yep.
Will need to be precise, the kick, and it is. Thought about playing on. Crowd, especially the Hawthorn portion of it, just in stunned silence here at the moment.
Well, Hawthorn are doing a very good job. Sorry, the Western Bulldogs are doing a very good job when Hawthorn are getting the ball. They're really manning the mark aggressively, and they're stopping the run from the young Hawks.
Mitchell long. Lewis used his body reasonably well. Now Franklin from the pocket. He might kick the impossible one from the angle. Hits the post. 4 behinds for Lance Franklin.
I think that might be 5, Dwayne.
5.
5.
He's kicked the whole 5.
Which is amazing.
Amazing, it is. The West Mitchell thing's good, isn't it? I think they must have had 6 or 7 each at the moment, and they're running off each other, but starting with each other in each of the clearances.
It's amazing, though. Lance Franklin, 8 disposals, 5 behinds. Rodney Ed would have made a change by now if he had have kicked straight, but Williams, he hasn't had a goal kicked on him yet, so you leave him on him.
So he's kicked all of Hawthorn's score. He kicked 6 goals when these two teams met earlier this year. 6 of Hawthorn's 13. And they lost that game. Williams.
Super kick.
Murphy. Now cross. Sends a wobbler inside 50. Skipper makes a contest. That was impossible to mark. And he grabbed it like a vice.
Well, that was a magnificent passage of play from the Bulldogs. But Wade Skipper, take a bow, because he looked at the ball and thought, well, I've got to go here. The kick's meant for me. I'm looking around for Darcy, and all of a sudden, eyes on the ball. Campbell Brown also did a very good job to spoil, but just too high.
Too high for him.
Too much height.
Only a couple of weeks back here when Western Bullies played Skipper in the last quarter and they were struggling, jumped up and took 2 terrific pack marks right on the goal line.
He's kicked 3 straight this year. To make Hawthorn pay. And the Dogs are looking solid.
I've been down, you know, it's been a class act. I mean, some of the slipped hand passes back into the corridor on the inside to give the person all the options going in have been fantastic.
And you also look at these stats again. Bulldogs 9 inside 50s, Hawthorn 11. 5 goals, 3. So every time the Bulldogs are going inside their forward 50, they're just about having a shot on goal.
And we know McGuinn hasn't been in great form, Dan, but he's one that might bring a little bit of speed and pressure in their front half, because the ball's coming out so easily. They're so big and slow in Hawthorn's forward line that any run they get, Western Bullies can't be counteracted by the defensive work of their forwards.
5-3 plays 5 behinds. More stunned silence here at the Telstra Dome. From the ball up, free kick. It'll be a Hawthorn ball to Taylor against the goal kick away skipper.
And both ruckmen look at each other. Am I going to get the free? They had no idea who was that for.
Smith, Hodge, ignored Franklin, heads to Roughhead, little push, and the umpire says a mark to Harris.
Could have been a pre-season game. Jared Roughhead would be having a shot on goal.
Johnson drops the mark, turnover, might be the break Hawthorn need. Their 200 gamer won't miss. Oh, he does. And Franklin's marked it, takes them on, runs in, and it's smothered. McDougall got there, inspirational, and he's got 6 behinds.
That is just unbelievable football from the Western Bulldogs.
What a wonderful effort.
Oh, that's one of the best smothers you will ever see. We see Franklin here play on, sold the dummy, you put it down.
Oh,
just goes to show you are always in the game at some stage as a defender.
Thought he might have pulled the ball back and gone around the second bloke.
and just as a reminder that it doesn't matter how many games of football you see in a year, there's always a surprise around the corner. 5-3, plays 6 behinds, and Franklin's kicked all 6. Ackermanis.
Well, he's kicked a goal. 6 points adds up to a goal.
Short to Boyd. Not sure they counted that way, Danny, but
I don't think Alistair Clarkson will be, Dwayne.
I like your optimism. Mitchell, Lewis. Now Guerra. Sends it inside 50, and Roughhead. This is an important kick.
Well, it is, Dwayne. I mean, when you look at the game and how it's unfolded, they've just been so crisp and clean and precise, Western Bullies, and Hawthorn's been anything else but.
He's 50-50 at goal, Jared Roughhead. He's kicked 32 goals, 31 this year, and kicked 3 goals, 2 last week.
Well, if you keep having shots, eventually you're going to kick a goal. So they're continually getting the ball in there. 14 inside 50s to 9.
Every Hawthorn fan holds their breath. Not bad off the boot. Hallelujah!
Well, Dan, you're right. I mean, I think total disposals, if I look correctly, were 73 to 82. I mean, you might say that's a significant difference. I don't think it really is in the modern game. But to have had as much of the ball Hawthorn has had many opportunities created within their 50-metre arc and have not been able to get better than a 1-goal, 6 result. I mean, they're in the game. I think they're in the game. They're not out of it because they played so well. But if they don't do something constructive forward of middle, they're not going to win this game because the Western Bullies are doing it beautifully.
Well, they're right in the game because they're winning the clearances, the hard ball gets, the contested possessions. The Bulldogs have been cleaner with their disposal. But eventually, if you just keep getting the ball in there, the Western Bulldogs' defence will be under pressure at some stage.
I see
Clarkson and Damien Hardwick.
Hodges now sitting in the back half. He was playing basically forward. Now the sweeper behind the ball.
Skipper and Taylor. 2 minutes from quarter time. Cross. Threads it through. White caught, dumped, cross. Shovels it out. Free kick's been found. And it's Hawthorn's way.
Yeah, incorrect disposal when you called it.
Taylor, Mitchell into trouble, out of trouble to Bateman. Roughhead leads back. Franklin needs short. Good fist. Knocked it down. Crawford played for the free, didn't get it. Everett. The gang tackle. Crawford brings him down. And there's some anger. Franklin, Johnson. And it's against Franklin. Free kick to Brad Johnson for a little bit of tongue.
Well, it seemed to be a little bit of verbal there, Dwayne, and look, Alistair Clarkson will be really disappointed at that because a ball up in your forward 50, you're a chance to set up a shot on goal. You just can't, unfortunately, give the Bulldogs a free disposal in their back half.
Gee, he gave as good as he got, according to those pictures, Brad Johnson. Cross. Cooney be quite content to shut up shop and go in at quarter time with this scoreline, the Western Bulldogs. Cooney again. This hacks it long. Big pack under this one. Flying but unable to complete the mark. White. Guerra can take it out. Still can take it out. Doesn't. To Lewis. Takes the game on. Smith. Open forward line for the Hawks. Mitchell about to get caught. Threw it to Taylor. He's got Franklin leading back toward the goal square. It's in his direction. And again the fist wins out from Morris.
He's made the change there, Dwayne, Rodney Eade, young Williams started on Franklin, but he thought, no, the percentages are going to suggest that Franklin will kick a goal at some stage. We see Dale Morris, 2 efforts already, had 2 magnificent spoils on Franklin.
And you look at him, he's half the size. You think this can't work, but he does. He's fantastic,
He's
Morris.
super quick.
Rough head down to Morris, dispossessed. Boyle, Sewell, dropped it. Back into Boyle. Can't get around Cooney. Back outside 50 to Sewell. Centering kick. Getting back cross, can't mark it. Rough head, dying seconds of the term. Shoots it out to Mitchell. Shoots it wide to Taylor. He loads up from the paint. And misses.
Bit of theatre from the goal umpire there. He held on for a long time before he gave that result.
So the last 2 seconds get eaten up on the clock with an illegal kick. Harris's kick, the umpire told him to have it again. There was 2 seconds left on the clock, so we've just wasted 2 seconds
in making the decision.
A play that didn't count.
Could there been a ball up?
Well, you would think that, well, in basketball they put 2 seconds back on the clock
yes,
and make you kick it in again. But this is AFL, and we'll hope that doesn't happen in a grand final. It's quarter time here. It's been an intoxicating contest. If you're a Bulldog fan, you're pretty happy right now. 5-3-33 the Dogs to Hawthorn, 1-7-13.
Action needs to do structurally. All they have to do is be more accurate in front of goal. They're winning the inside 50s, David. Contested possessions are 30 to 16. So all the key criteria is they're winning instead of scoreboard pressure.
Yeah, I was a bit surprised, but the reality was he went to the midfield. He wasn't the midfield coach at the start of the break. Alistair really got into him.
And also we see both teams in the shade, Dwayne, which is quite interesting. We see the ground here. Both the Western Bulldogs and Hawthorn are having their huddle in the shade. Not used to these hot conditions in the late Melbourne winter.
Smart, Dan. Look, there's no doubt Young, Hodge, Ladson, Crawford and Bateman, who've been dominant possession getters in the midfield. I've got no doubt about the clearances. It's been fantastic. West and Mitchell are going head-to-head. When the actual stoppages occur, they're not too head-to-head in the round-the-ground stuff. And Hawthorn need more out there, whereas Cross and Boyd, Eagleton, Cooney and West obviously have actually dominated the possession in the midfield. And I think the coach probably had a chance to go to him.
Well, Rowan Smith is downstairs and he's with his old coach, Rodney Eade.
Well, Rodney, you were looking to get off to a good start and you certainly got that.
Yeah. I spoke about it all week back into the way we play. We're sort of falling away from that a bit, and I think confidence does that. But you know, I think we've got to take some risks. The guys took some risks and it looked untidy at times, but we scored some goals through it.
But it's also very clean. They were clean hands going inside 50.
Yeah, they were. I think we can improve. I mean, there's a few fumbles here and there, but it was that was certainly pleasing.
We'll let you go, mate.
Thanks, mate.
Rodney Eade sounds pumped. Coaching, of course, against his old team. 229 games for Hawthorn, 4 premierships. Also chipped in another 30 games for Brisbane, but he's been an outstanding coach and player. Best year as a coach his first season when he took Sydney to that grand final they lost in 1996. But he has his Dogs in front by 20 points at quarter time here.
Interesting to note that Alistair Clarkson's changed his structure somewhat. He's got Lance, Franklin and Boyle up the ground, and he's put Dixon in the goal square. So probably trying to share the workload. He thinks, well, Franklin needs 40 possessions today to kick 5 goals.
And taking Williams back at the same time.
Okay, let's get this one back underway. The first term was sensational. See what happens opening stages of the second. Ladson couldn't get it out decisively. Guerra hunts it down, gets around Boyd. Hodge ducked out of a tackle and went back to Guerra. Got a couple of short options. One of them, Ladson wide. Campbell the other, shoots it to Bateman, takes on Hargrave, inside 50 to Lewis. And again, they don't get any luck. Lewis's kick cut off by Gilby.
Gilby's playing a loose player in the back line at the moment for the Bulldogs, so Hawthorn just need to be aware that he's going to be in the corridor, so under pressure.
And the best bloke at running and carrying the ball and using it, you want him covered somehow.
Cut off by Crawford. Couldn't take the mark. Knocks it back to Franklin. Shoots the handball out. Lewis this time. And he kicks the opener of the second term.
Have I got egg on my face? Was it Gilby who mucked that kick up on the way out?
Certainly was, David.
Well, leave him loose. Leave him loose. If he keeps kicking it back to Hawthorn like that, they're in with a chance.
But it was a great spoil from Shane Crawford. You see the spoil, just a little deft tap out there to Lance Franklin. That was magnificent play from the big fella from ground level.
Just
Lewis
gave it
had
off
the
him.
first snap.
Yep.
And then the second one, kicked truly. Got a lot better purchase on the ball with his second shot on goal.
Two players that the Bulldogs had the choice of going head-to-head there. The Bulldogs had to make a choice between Lewis and Tom Williams with pick 6 back in 2004. Chose Tom Williams.
Well, they're both wins for both clubs, in my opinion.
From the ball up. Important first goal for the Hawks, and they're inspired at the moment. Sewell. Gillum. Crawford on the run. Ray with him. A race. And Crawford does well. Around the body to Bateman and might get it back. In fact, Bateman decides to go it alone. He's still on if he wants him, and he goes back to Crawford now, who gets past Ray. The 1-2 did work. Spears it inside 50 to Ladson.
Well done, Shane Crawford. A very quiet first quarter, only the one disposal. Young Farron Ray is on Shane Crawford, and already you see he's had 3 disposals in his second quarter already.
And the 3 of the blokes we nominated, Ladson, Crawford and Bateson, are the 3 blokes we nominated at quarter time. All got multiple possessions in this quarter already.
Turns 33 years of age, semi-final week this year, Shane Crawford. All eyes on Ladson to make it 2 from 2 to start this second term. He got under it, and Harris has marked it on the line.
He's a great marking defender, Brian Harris, isn't he?
Great positioning to get.
West, Morris, West to slip. Danger again. They're not playing with the poise they had in the opening term. Ray, Gilby, Eagleton, and he takes on Young. Not such a good idea. They got a push in the back and didn't get a kick away. So it's neither a push in the back nor holding the ball. We'll get a ball up on the wing.
That's interesting, because if that had been a marking contest. We see the run. It was a great chase from Young. If that had been a marking contest, they would have paid a free kick.
Oh.
Work that one out, David.
I can't.
From the ball up, Boyd. Cross, Skipper. And out of play on the full.
I reckon they're called evenness, because he half pushed him in the back, but he run about 400 metres before he got the umpire said that's even, and we'll just call that nil or draw.
One thing I've noticed already with Hawthorn, the intensity when the Bulldogs have got the ball. They're forcing the Bulldogs into some errors now, which is a real positive here for the Hawks.
Mitchell along the boundary. Free kick to Hodge, perhaps. He played for it and got it. Sam Power arguing. Sam Power's actually doing a law degree at university at the moment. All players might need to do one with these law changes. High kick inside 50. It's hard to keep up with some frees at the moment. The players are having a little difficulty this year. Franklin steals it. Ladson toward full forward. Getting back. West takes the mark.
Possession number 12 for Scotty West.
Boyd. Sam Power. Boyd.
There's a lot better pressure here from Hawthorn.
Ray. Hargrave. Chased down by Bateman. Boyd. Cross. Plenty of possessions, not going far. And that should be a free kick to Boyd.
It is.
Too high by Sewell.
You heard Rodney Eade before the game talk about a key forward that comes at the ball. That passage of play best illustrates why they desperately need a couple of key forwards, because under pressure, when the opposition put pressure on the Bulldogs, they haven't got that get-out kick to a strong body.
Well, there's another perfect example on that kick.
Sewell takes on the tackler to Gillum. Inboard, Birchall missed Campbell, put him under pressure. He was slow, but he got it out to Roughhead, to Young. They've got the loose man out of it. Lewis inside 50, can't get it to Franklin. Harris cuts it off. Having a good afternoon. Cross. Gilby runs for him, needs it to bounce, and it does. He's got Cooney short, ignores that, goes inboard and turns it over straight to Burchell.
It was an amazing decision from Gilby. He had Johnson and Cooney on the lead, yet elected to drop one in the air to a crowded Hawthorn defence.
Young threw it to Crawford, centres it to Sewell. Strong hands. Franklin is to the pocket. It's in his direction, and he'll mark it if he doesn't get the push away against him. He gets the push away against him.
Well,
just had to use his elbow there.
Two hands in the middle of the back. What else are they going to call?
Morris to Cooney.
It's a free kick. The defenders have really picked up on it well, but sometimes the forwards just use the hands too often.
Hodge spoils, down to Lewis. Tries to keep it alive, but gave it to Eagleton. Ray. Sewell hunted him down. Lewis. Central kick. Good kick to Mitchell. Crawford peels off. He's got the handball target inboard. Burchell. His handball misses Campbell. Harris on the spot. Filled the hole. Gave it to Boyd.
Harris been super this quarter.
Williams. Slipped, forced to go back. Franklin came hard, but Harris, he has been super. Gives it to Gian Siracusa. Short. And Hargrave takes the mark. Harris, yet another fullback who started his career as a forward. Played all his junior football as a forward. Recruited as a forward. Turned into a fullback. And doing well. Williams.
Most fullbacks do start up in the forward line.
They do.
Brian.
Most good backmen full stop start on the forward line.
In fact, when you got Prestigiacomo in the twos at Collingwood, he'd never played a game at fullback in his life, and you put him there, and he's been there ever since, Danny.
He still tells me that too, Dwayne. So why did you do it to me?
Now there's it's been out of play here, so they'll bring it back.
I was a bit disappointed. Campbell had a chance to take Harris out then on that take. He needed, as a big man there, he just needed to keep going, take the ball and the bloke, and he went to sort of corral. Got to take that physical stuff.
Taylor had to back palm it. West, Eagleton, Gian Siracusa. Now Morris to the open side. No one to go too long, forced to short it. Cross, Johnson. And he turned it over to Taylor. They've got free men everywhere. Young, he can't pick it up. Met high by Morris.
That's well, yeah, he's in a little bit of trouble.
Well, he's in a bit of trouble. But Franklin put no pressure on the way out. I mean, it was just a pathetic chase on Morris. They actually turned the ball over in the midfield, but Franklin's got a big tank and he should go.
After looking at that replay there, he'll definitely get off that. He stopped in his tracks, Dale Morris. You can see him put his hands in the air. There's nothing in that.
Nothing in that.
There's a free kick. That's all it was.
So the AFL have wasted their ink on that one as it goes down in the book, but they've been told to be vigilant.
Well, and that's fair enough, Dwayne, but it won't get any further, and that's quite, that's an umpire who's not quite on spot.
Young from 60, an almighty launch, but it's wide, only a behind. What it can do, though, is upset the player that's been reported.
Exactly.
It can, but it's been a great initiative, that, because
Dale
Morris.
Don't get me wrong.
It's been terrific.
Ackermanis. He sends it wide. Gilby. Nice grab in the hands. Just protected Ladson away from the ball with his body. And now Power.
Well, unfortunately, Dwayne, the Bulldogs haven't been able to get the ball inside their forward 50. Only one this quarter. 10 inside 50s to the Bullies, 23 to Hawthorn.
Yeah, that's true. Well, they're still taking the risk, though. I must admit, Rocket will be pleased that they're, from most of these situations, this going on, taking a bit of a risk. The options here aren't great. That's their problem.
Well, they haven't scored in the first 10 minutes of this term. Everett flies, but can't bring the mark down. Sewell. That's the Bulldogs who haven't scored in the first 10 minutes of this second term. Sewell got it, gave it towards Vandenberg, but missed him. Eagleton, they might score here, the Dogs. Johnson, they've got plenty running for him. He shorts it. Murphy, too far out to load up, although there's no one on the mark if he wants to go now.
He's Gilby.
And Gilby is a long kick. He's within range.
Again, playing the percentages on Gilby. You cannot afford to lay off Lindsay Gilby when he's standing anywhere around the 50 arc in his forward 50.
His name must be Stewie Dew. That's what he used to do at Port Adelaide all the time. And no one ever sat on him.
For the first Bulldogs score of the term. They led by 20 points at quarter time. Starts from the paint, and that is a magnificent kick off the boot.
Well,
efficient football at its absolute best. 11 inside 50s, 9 shots on goal, Parker.
That is absolutely super, and he does the job as well as anybody in the competition, but that's 2 of their 6 goals the Western Bullies have got as freebies, in my opinion.
Still think the Hawthorn boys would be pretty happy with where they're at the moment, because the clearances again, 5 to the Bulldogs, 12 to Hawthorn, 23 inside 50s to 11 normally equates to a winning score.
I'd agree with that, and they're in a position now. They'll be round about at half-time, and the game might open up into a different contest. Nobody yet playing with a man behind the ball. We had a bit that at the end of the quarter, but there's still, it's a shootout with one-on-one all around the ground.
So Hodge and Power, full forward and full back. Hodge at full forward for the Hawks. The restart. White thumps it down. Sewell gets there first and sends it long in the Hodge direction. Power got a little hand in the back, and he gives the free away.
Good coaching here from Alistair Clarkson. Good strong body, Luke Hodge.
And
started playing as a forward as a youngster.
And that with the match-up in a physical sense probably is unwise. I think Power's done a terrific job. When it gets to one-on-one in a push and shove, Hodge is going to win every time.
All he needs to do there, young Power, is know that Hodge has got him in the body stakes, but he's probably got him in the speed stakes. So just play off him a little bit and use your athleticism to get that spoil in.
Kicked a goal last week. He's kicked 16-12 for the year, Luke Hodge. And had too much bend in it. A behind.
They'd be disappointed with that effort, and you'd think that he's being protected a bit, Hodgie, playing forward. He might go into the midfield in the second half if required, but I reckon he's carrying an injury of some kind.
Now there's something. Oh, he's gone over the line, Morris, so it'll be a bounce at the top of the square.
He's pleading his case, but the umpire was in a great spot there. Just need to put the ball through for a point here. The Bulldogs play the percentages.
And the Hawks need to get someone on the line to stop it. From the ball up, Roughhead stops it by thumping it back toward the field of play. Cross, almost a throw to Cooney. Threads the handball through to McDougall, to Ackermanis. He's got Murphy out wide. Here's a good user of the ball, Jason Ackermanis.
So is this boy, Dwayne.
Murphy back inboard. Gilby.
Good running here from Cross.
And he can get it and go if he wants. He does want. Looks up. He's got the short option. He sends it long to the pocket. Darcy flies with Johnson. The ball's still alive. Players blinded by the sun for a second there. Ladson, chip kick, Sewell takes the mark.
Gee, that was a smart kick from Ladson. Everyone just assumed that he was going to bash the ball long, lowered his eyes and just did a nice little pop kick there to Brad Sewell. Had a very good quarter, Brad Sewell.
He's had a pretty good year. First half was sensational, and had a good year last year as well, but third the best and fairest last year. It's not really until this year that he's necessarily been recognised as the very good player he is. The umpires actually now know him. He only got one Brownlow vote last year, but you'd think he'll get a few more this year.
He's had 13 disposals so far in this game.
From the ball in, Mitchell to the man we were speaking of, Sewell, Gillum, and now Crawford. Hodge on the move, front spot, one grab, not the third. Everett got a fingernail in it. Now Eagleton can run wide. Takes the mark.
Trying to get onto his left foot.
And he waits for Hargrave. Hargrave heads long. Johnson and Campbell Brown, speaking of outstanding seasons.
Doing a very good job at the moment, Campbell Brown on Brad Johnson. He's starting to get a little bit frustrated, the Western Bulldogs skipper.
Trenchroad to Sewell. And he gathers it half back. He's got Young, but it'll need to be a precise kick. It is. And he takes off. Thought about going for home. Goes to Roughhead in a one-on-one. Got the hands to it. Harris again superb. McDougall not so good. Hodge rolls it, bounces it, goals it.
It should be advantage.
Well, there's no stop in play. No, that's...
They normally pay advantage.
Well, you'd reckon it was right. It was continuous there. So I don't know that anybody else could have done anything different on the whistle, Dan. That'll be
probably in the umpire's defence. Maybe he didn't see Hodge kick the goal. He's probably looking at the contest after the tackle there from Roughhead. It's the only thing that I can
no, that's
see.
right. You let him away out.
Nice of you to help them out, Danny.
He's an umpire's man and always has been.
You're allowed to stick up from now and again, Dwayne.
Oh, it's beautiful. Brought tears to my eyes, it did. Jared Roughhead from 20. And he converts, thankfully.
Really improved as a player as the years gone on. Jared Roughhead started his career as a backman. He's kicked the 2 goals. He's worked hard. And as we see in modern day football, Parko kicks a goal and has a little spell on the bench. And the 200 gamer comes on, Ben Dixon.
I still think there's another example, Dan. I don't want to be the record that continues on where the drop of the ball didn't see a quick, small forward.
Now, you're right in saying that. You have a look at their forward line. They're very tall. They're all good marks. They move well. Mark Williams, would you see him as the marking forward or a crummer?
No, he can do all jobs. That's the great thing. If he comes back okay, he goes very, very quickly. He goes very, very high, and he's very good round his feet. He'd be the perfect foil.
That was, of course, the great Mal Brown, the father of Campbell Brown, from the ball up. And no one going anywhere. And we'll get another ball up.
People would argue that both Crawford and Vandenberg start. They're actually half forwards when they start, but they come into the midfield. They're not crumbing deep in their front half.
Roughhead having a spell. It's a 2-goal margin. Slap down to Cooney. To Murphy. He sends the left foot kick long in the Darcy direction. Johnson flies with the flight of the ball. Can't mark it. Might crumb it. Big hip and shoulder laid, but Gillum rode it. Smith to Campbell Brown.
Had to be a tackle there from Luke Darcy, Dwayne.
And Murphy drags down Sewell. In fact, it was Birchall. Yeah. And Murphy gets the free on 50. And he might be within range.
He must have had 300th of a second then to get rid of it.
And he loads up to the top of the square. Hargrave would need to fly. Does, but can't pluck it. Crow does. Gives to Campbell Brown. And he finds Vandenberg with a tumbler. Mitchell.
Ellis has got nowhere to go up the ground here other than long down the line.
So he goes to the one-on-one and Boyle beaten for it by McDougall. West. Ackermann short. Can't half volley it. Campbell grabs it. Hodge back to Campbell. Handball okay to Mitchell. He made him go back to get it. And Mitchell was good enough to do it. Hodge will go all the way here. Sizes them up from 50. And he can kill you with the left.
Super play, super hands from Sammy Mitchell. They gave each other a high five, and Sammy Mitchell coming off the ground. But to Hodge in full flight, is there a better side in football than seeing that run through the middle of the ground? We just see the handball here from Campbell. Unfortunately, just offline a bit. Mitchell's hands from ground level, but have a look at the run and carry. Bang.
To recover that, I mean, it's the second effort by Mitchell to get back on the ball that wasn't delivered well, but no recovered. He had to hit the ball with his left over his shoulder, got Hodge on full stride. That's beautiful football at its best.
Well, if you keep having shots, eventually they're going to go through the two big sticks, as we see Brent Brewer there, just getting some attention there from his right eye bleeding.
And they needed to be back, don't they, Dan? I mean, you give Western Bullies a look. 4 or 5 goals at half-time is going to make a job on this day very hard.
1 goal the margin from the ball up. Cooney. Ray. Short. And the mark just inside 50 and just within range for Tiller.
Better find. I think he's a player of the future. Can really run. I like his speed for a tall player.
He was in the Werribee reserves for a while last year before he made his way to the Werribee seniors. Hands off to Eagleton from 51. Darcy down there, and he protected the space for Skipper. Tucked into the pocket, plays on, and the kick smothered by Crowd out of play. They messed that up a little.
He just needs to work on his decision maker, Wade Skipper. He's competed well today. He's taken a very strong grab, but then just had to go back, kick the goal.
It's not as sure of themselves at the moment, the Dogs, in the second term as they were in the first. In fact, they're playing the second like Hawthorn played the first. Birchall, Ladson, Campbell Brown, Young.
It's been Hawthorn's intent, Dwayne. Their pressure skills and their competitiveness have really come to the fore in this quarter.
Big win that for Vandenberg. Beat 2, kept it alive to Ellis. 2 young guns. Everett steals it back from Ellis. Well played to Gilby.
Talk about decision making. Young Everett's decision making is super.
Skipper. Big decision coming up for him here. He hits his fellow ruckman Darcy with a precise pass.
Look, Young Everett and Ellis there.
Oh, the idea, if Ellis had hit it just a bit quicker and a bit harder, it would have been through, but Everett able to anticipate that. That shows you where he is in his football. Wonderful decision maker and a very good user of the ball.
Already kicked one this afternoon, Luke Darcy. 32 years of age, playing his second last game, unless they make the finals. His last will be here next Sunday against the Kangaroos. His left foot kick, superb. He's got two.
Great play. Talk about efficient football, Parko. He's had the two possessions. Luke Darcy for 2 goals.
2 goals, yeah. And the efficiency going in, as you've called.
Well, if he keeps that going, he will end up with 4. So as a key forward, he'll be happy with that every day of the week. Against the flow too, I might add. But it was young Everett just on the half-back line, just had the awareness to work the ball through traffic with hands, and then on the break, the Western Bulldogs were always going to have a shot on goal. It's been a magnificent player.
He has.
Luke Darcy.
Career will be over next week. Could have been over a little earlier. He was in New York as a tourist and walking toward the World Trade Center when the planes hit on September 11 all those years ago. Saw the devastation firsthand. From the ball up, Hodge has a free kick and it'll go to the Dogs. Skipper. Darcy leads short again in his direction and can't gather the half volley. Chance Bateman. Crawford. 22 minutes gone, second term. Dixon in game 200 holds it up. Now the long ball. Franklin in the pocket. Morris with him again. And the ball out of play will get a ball in.
And boys, just an update on Brett Guerrero. He just went down to the rooms. Looks like he's going to have a couple of stitches. He's in his cut eye. So he just got in a little clash in the Western Bulldogs forward line, boys, before.
Skipper and Taylor. 45 plays 33. Ball flicked back, cross. Nice hands to Power. And now Gilby. Thumps it in the Ackermanis direction. He's got it. He knows where they are here. Loads up from 50. Brings it back and goals!
Fantastic goal.
That is as good as it gets from the superstar.
On the counter-attack, the Bulldogs, they are a very good team. Hawthorn's pressure, and unfortunately, if the forwards don't mark it or hold the ball in, invariably it ends up down the other end. If it gets into the hands of players like this.
Well, if they don't take it, Hawthorn, if they don't actually take possession of 50, it's easy out. It was Gilby, and Gilby was under a little bit of defensive pressure and got a long ball in, which eventually got to Ackermanis.
What else the Clarkson and the coaching staff need to concentrate on with the boys, with their forwards, is, boys, OK, we're there to kick goals and win the ball, but let's have a love-all draw. At least cause a ball up which stems their run and flow.
And I disappoint with Franklin, because Franklin has the best athletic, I guess, prowess in that team and speed, but his endurance is superb. Does not work at all hard when he doesn't have the ball.
And if you just joined us, Franklin's got 5 behinds for the afternoon so far. Ellis to Vandenberg. Taylor. Franklin leads to the pocket. It's only a half-hearted lead, and there's a free kick for a Shepherd. And it'll be brought back to Taylor.
Well, that's a win for Hawthorn because the ball was going into 5 Bulldogs players there, so that's a win. All numbers back beyond the ball now.
So he thumps in a high hope. Big fly by Skipper, couldn't bring it down though. Morris.
He was up there, he got a ride.
Cooney. And now Everett. The crowd getting their breath back. Short kick, not good. Vandenberg, oh, great commitment by Farron Ray. Slightly built but put his body on the line. Everett, dainty kick towards Boyd. Shoots it back past Ackermanis. Race on, Birchall Ackermanis. Franklin's come up to the flank. He's got a couple of options short. Vandenberg from the 50. Looks up, wants to go for home, sends it to the goal square. Harris got back, got a fist on it. Lewis the crumb, shrugs 2, sends it around the body and inspires them with a goal.
Well, I needed that one because as good as ever it was before, David. I think he just flirted with it somewhat there.
Little dink kick that went nowhere, wasn't it? It looked like it was going to be perfect, but it didn't hit the target. Turnover and back, and Buddy was working up and hard. He released 3 or 4 outstanding handballs today, Buddy, on the turn and on the lift, which have hit good targets running forward. I reckon Vandenberg's kick was probably the right kick in the effort. I don't think he could have put it through with accuracy, and it's a terrific effort by Lewis to win it back and put it through.
You're right, because one thing a defender doesn't want is the forward to have an advantage, and kicking that ball about 10 metres out gives the forward a run and jump at the ball, so puts the defence under enormous pressure.
Pretty important goal, I think, Dan, in the context of the game.
So Lance Franklin having a spell, and Jordan Lewis has 2 goals, both in this second term. Skipper flying high everywhere, got the palm down in the ruck, and free kick for the Dogs, pushing the back.
Rowan Smith, what about the conditions down there today? The run and carry, will it sap the energy of these boys?
It certainly will, Spud. It's actually quite warm today, 22 degrees, full sunshine, so very, very much like finals type atmosphere down here as well.
Murphy got a free for a push. He's on 50. He might be millimetres within his range, although he doesn't look like he likes his chances. And now he sends the ball central. It's a wobbler. It's a terrible kick. And a good mark taken by Gillum.
Well, that kick, I know it wasn't a great kick, Dwayne. It's why the Western Bulldogs list management will be looking at any key position player in the competition or any youngster in the under-18 competition, because those kicks always don't come lace out. You need a big, strong body to bring that ball to ground.
Sewell sends it inside 50, but getting back. Brian Harris takes the mark.
He thinks there's a birthday every time he plays Hawthorn. Hawthorn kicked the ball to him absolutely continuously.
You're a premiership player and coach of the club. David, you're allowed to squeeze one out occasionally.
You're right, Dave. He's had 7 marks in a half of football as a full-back. I think it'll take me about 6 weeks when I played to get 7 marks.
You can throw one in later, Rowan, if you like. Are we at some stage during the course of the afternoon?
I'm trying not to do it, boys, but I'm trying not to be a little bit biased. But look, Brad Johnson's just come from the ground, just having some treatment on his back. Campbell Brown's done an awesome job. Don't be surprised in the second half if he moves into the midfield, just trying to break that tag.
I have watched you clap a couple of times, Smithy, when the Bulldogs have kicked a goal.
I try not to cheer too much, but
Morris finds Ackermanis. He pokes it, hoping for, but not quite successful for power. Sewell, Ellis, and now Hodge.
Well, both teams are making mistakes because of the fatigue factor.
Heads to Lewis, over the head to Dixon.
Except the class players, David.
Oh, but what about the kick? I was with Dwayne. I was certain it was going to Lewis, but I think it was smarter than you and I thought, Dwayne.
It just
went over the top, and he got Dixon on the absolute lead.
Was that Brent Guerra? He's not keeping that hair on with that tape, is he?
I'm not going there, Dwayne.
No, I'm not going there either.
Dixon from 45. Important kick. Swings it back. Delightful.
He's a super kick. It's a great story also. Picked late in the draft. He's played
77 I think in the draft. 90, 94.
With the 6 disposals, 1 goal. He just kicks the goal that matters.
He's been very good. He hasn't been a high possession winner, but he's been a very strong mark for his size, and he's been a beautiful kick to finish the task.
You'd love to run on that kick of Luke Hodges. You'd want to have your... One thing you need going for is your hands want to be on, because it just sliced the Bulldogs' defence, that kick from Luke Hodge.
And he's in the midfield, Hodgie, now. Spent most of his time forward up until the last, 4 or 5 minutes, and he can make a difference. It's good to have a player as strong and as dominant as him to come in and get hold of the game when it's required.
Goal number 278 for Ben Dixon in his 200 games from the ball up. Sewell again. Hodge tried to slip the handball to Young. He and Cross fell over. Knocked back towards Sewell. Dives in, body on the line. Young again. Caught by Hargrave. Brought down with the ball. The umpire was blindsided. Had players between him and the tackler. We'll get a ball up on the wing.
Dwayne, you called it. Sewell has been absolutely outstanding.
30 minutes gone. Second term. Seconds remaining. Time enough for a takeaway from this ball in and a score. 51-45. It's a 6-point ball game. Campbell tries to steal it, knocked down to Hodge. Can they level the scores at half-time? Lewis sends it inside 50. Roughhead's down there, got hands to it. Gilby slapped it past Ladson. And it's half-time here at the Dome. The Bulldogs need to win their last 2 games and then hope next week St Kilda, Adelaide and maybe Essendon lose next week to make it to September. The Hawks, well, they can move back into the top 4 with a win today, and they can still grab 2nd spot on the ladder depending on what happens next week as well. Plenty of connotations and a big second half to come, and it's the Dogs who lead 8-3-51, Hawthorn 6-9-45. Perfect afternoon for football at the Telstra Dome in Melbourne. Bright sunshine and smell of September in the air. And both these teams could still play in September. The Dogs lead by 6 points at halftime. They would need to win this afternoon and again next week and hope a couple of results go their way to make it to September. They've kept their chances alive with a good first half, although the Hawks are a-coming and they can move back into the top 4 with a win today.
Well, the Hawthorn Football Club have got the best second half scoring in the competition. They normally outscore their opponents, so it's not great news for the Western Bulldogs, but I really love the duels of West and Mitchell, 18 possessions as well. But I thought Alistair Clarkson did well, Parko, with Lewis kicking 2 goals and Hodge 1. His midfielders just pushed them forward at times. They weren't into the game, then all of a sudden they kicked a couple of goals.
And they've got very few players down. I think Hawthorn could expect a bit more out of Smith and Bateman, who have been outstanding workers and carriers and users of the ball. I think they've been pretty even across the board, Western Bullies. I don't think I think Johnson's not so much the problem for them, but they need him up and going. Young Brownie's done a terrific job on him. You'd think that Johnson might just come up into the midfield a bit at the moment. He looks like he'll start deep forward again, but I would put him up and just get him off the hook for a bit.
We had a look at the Hawthorn forward line. One thing about them, they're not going to get any smaller if they continually get the ball in there, because at the moment the inside 50s are 32 to Hawthorn, 19 to the Western Bulldogs. So Franklin started the game ablaze, and they had the 12 disposals, unfortunately 5 behinds. But if you just keep having shots at goal, eventually they will go through the big stick. So looking forward to a great second half here, Dwayne.
Ball is in readiness. Big crowd in here at the Dome this afternoon. 2 Melbourne-based teams with plenty to play for, and Campbell is in the ruck against Skipper. Second half is underway. Sewell, Campbell, little shove as he got the kick away. Sewell dives in, extracts it to Hodge, to Mitchell. Straight down the middle, lost it. Skipper tried to handle to Ray, hit Crawford instead. Back to Sewell. Kick smothered. McDougall, after the smother, tries to keep his feet, loses them. Crawford to Hodge. Inside 50 to Campbell. If he can get the shot away, sells the dummy. Franklin, golden opportunity. And there's a nugget from Lance.
Well, not often you see, can I go back one step? Not often you see a big man like McDougall. He's put 2 of the best tacklers on for the day. Unfortunately, your best smothers on the day, and they ricocheted back. But to see the effort then to re-win the ball, to set up Franklin, and Franklin's got 1 now at the start of the second half. I suggest we might see multiples of goals this half.
Also, Luke Hodge already had 2 disposals. Sam Power, a very good job in the first quarter, but now Hodge is in and under the pack. So Sam Power just has to readjust his game, try and get first to the ball. It was great to see Franklin kick a goal there.
61st goal of the season for Lance Franklin, his first of the afternoon, and scores are level. From the ball up, Campbell, Skipper got a palm on it. West, Mitchell over the top of him, still trying to shovel it out. Mitchell stole it back again, tries to walk out of the pack. Ladson.
That's circuit play from Mitchell there.
Sewell still down behind play. Mitchell, Bateman, Crawford shoots it back to Hodge. Mitchell still down behind play. Inside 50 to Campbell, who can give the Hawks the lead from 35 metres out.
Well, great running from Campbell. No doubt this has been an instruction from Alistair Clarkson. We see Wade Skipper just run down here, but we see Campbell pushing forward. There's a dangerous ruckman pushing forward. He's a big man, big body, big strong mark.
Damn, but it all started in the centre bounce. They have been absolutely dominant centre clearances.
Sam Mitchell was carved up by Kane Corns last week. Corns had 38 possessions to Mitchell's 18. And he's turning that around this afternoon. And Campbell has the Hawks in front.
Centre clearances, David, just spot on 3 to the Western Bulldogs, 13 to Hawthorn. So you're getting first use of the ball. And it's those boys in the middle, Hodge and Campbell again. We just see the boys throwing the ball around. The thing about the Hawks now, they're starting to run and carry. And again, Luke Hodge, you want to get the ball in the hands of your best kick and your best decision maker forward to the centre. There's a lot of numbers in opposition forward 50s now, and Luke Hodge here, that was just a magnificent kick again. Great play.
Well, have a look at their inside now. You've got the I think three of the best in the competition. If that's Sewell, Mitchell and Hodge all in at the centre bounce at the moment. Pretty hard trio to beat at ground level once it gets into the pathway.
Sewell's had 21 disposals. Cooney only the 11.
Campbell back in the ruck after the goal that gave the Hawks the lead. West shoots out a handball. Hargrave made it tough for him. Sewell in and under again. Somehow the handball away. Ladson chip kick, went for the pass option instead. And well played by Harris.
Dangerous kick.
Gilby on the rebound, got a hand to it. Hodge gets back to Crawford. Bateman overshoots into Birchall, to Mitchell. Pops it inside 50, but again, Harris takes the mark.
Just a bad decision there for Mitchell. Should have went long to the square. Looks like there's a Western Bulldogs player down here. Hopefully he's okay.
Yeah, it's Tom Williams, but just got hit when Brian Harris just come back into that pack just then.
Tom Williams still in the hands of trainers. And just collided with his own man. Long kick towards half forward. Dogs trying to get 1 or 2 back. Free kick. And it's to Gian Siracusa.
Well, they're going to have to play perfect football, the Bulldogs. You see their half forward liners, Daniel and Murphy.
And Tiller sneaks inside 50. And he's kicked a few of these this year.
Well, both the ruckmen are trying each other out, aren't they? Campbell's got in twice now, deep in forward line, and Tiller's not been able to stay. And then in reverse, the opposition ruckman Tiller's got forward.
Just the one possession so far this afternoon for Stephen Tiller. Kicked 2-2 last week. 5-4 for the season. And that's a shocker. He shanked it. Boyd under it. Can't take the mark. It was such a wobbler. Guerra. He's dragged down. Tiller tries to make amends, mop up his mess. Power to Gian Siracusa towards goal. Crowd down there. And with some help from Campbell Brown, rushes are behind.
Hawthorn are starting to assert their authority at the contested ball. They're running straight at the hard ball now.
Gillum got on the end of Ladson's kick, gave it to Guerra. He heads to Crawford. Here's the little bit of leg there on Ray. Reined in, and now cross. Wobbles it towards Johnson. In fact, it was cut off by Tiller. It was meant for Johnson. He gets to Murphy. Now Cooney. Back inboard. West shoots it wide. Gian Siracusa. A little wider to Gilby. And maybe just beyond his range. Kicked one earlier from outside 50. Takes on Bateman on the mark. Runs to the paint. Drop punt, good. It's awesome. And the Dogs, with that magnificent goal for Gilby, back in front.
Well, that is super sub. I mean, that's the modern day football. I mean, Gilby's probably one of the best kicks I've seen in my lifetime, 40-odd years in footy, but to have gone to the man on the mark to try and go round him on his right, to come back on his left, still on 50, not just probably just cross the line and whack it. I mean, really whack it with terrific technique and power to get the goal. Gee, worth coming just to see that.
Well, they're going to have to continue to run and carry because Gilby starting on the half back line on the wing. He's their leading goal scorer with 3 goals.
Well, that's what in this Western Bully side, unfortunately, your midfielders and half-backs have got to score goals.
I think their style of play is fine. People say their style. It's just the structure of the goal mouth. A couple of key forwards. This style's exciting.
From the ball up. Sewell. Long handball to Lewis. Power tried to hunt him down but missed him completely. Vandenberg Chip kick, Franklin, too far out to score. Central kick, Dixon dives and takes it millimetres from the turf.
Got a great chemistry, those tall forwards for Hawthorn. Franklin marked the ball. The key to the play was he turned and played on instantly. You turn and play on, the forward will always lead. So great play there from Franklin and Dixon. Great chemistry.
I think we forget movement, as I always say. Movement creates movement. As soon as you stop and pop and cop, everybody wonders what you're going to do. Play on, movement will occur.
Ben Dixon in game 200, 10th on the all-time Hawthorn goal kickers list. Father Joe played 5 games for Fitzroy back in 1963 and never kicked a goal. And Dixon is still stuck on 278. He misses. Scores level again. West. Can't get away from Roughhead. Can now. Took him on and won. Kick not so good, although Tiller makes it okay. Good contest. Cross. Tried to thread it to Power. Straight to Mitchell. He's caught. Gives to Gillum. He's caught. Crowd want ball. Gee, that was a combined prior opportunity decision, perhaps, because it looked for all money. There wasn't prior opportunity to either of them.
Good call, Dwayne. Instant tackle and take, no free kick.
Murphy pokes it wide. Tough one for White. Gets there too late. Lewis takes the mark.
Again, good pressure on the ball carrier there. You've forced the Bulldogs to kick under pressure. Unfortunately, they haven't got that big, tall forward.
Birchall to Mitchell to Ladson to Franklin. He marks 48 from goal.
Well, it was a good lead. He grabbed the body nice and early on young Dale Morris there, and then when the body contact was initiated, as we just see here, initiated, then pushed off just to gain a couple of yards. It's a beautiful kick also.
You know when he's going to have a shot, Dwayne. Unlike the previous one, he turned immediately and curled in and played on. He didn't even turn once to have a look to see what's on.
That's what he has ahead of him. Left foot, nice, drifting, not enough. Only behind to Lance Franklin, who's 9 goals behind Jonathan Brown, who's atop the goal kickers list at the moment after kicking 1 goal this round with 70. And a wobbler outside 50.
People who backed Lance Franklin for the Coleman medal, Dwayne, would be a little bit frustrated at the moment.
1 goal 6 this afternoon, could have had 7.
Pulling their hair out.
Farron Ray takes on Franklin and sends it long. Tough one for Hargrave. Birchall over the top, thumped it down. Crawford back to Smith. He's got Ellis on the open side, sees him now, hits him with the pass.
Vandenberg on the break also.
And he can run here. He's got a couple of options. One of them is Lewis, inside 50, and hits Jordan Lewis, who can line up and extend Hawthorn's lead to 7 points.
I mean, if you go back and make the point, Dan, about the ball going in, when they do have to kick it long, and that's the perfect example of it, they just don't take a strong overhead mark against any of their forwards, and therefore they've got a limit as to what they can do when the obvious strategy of kicking short is not available.
Already kicked 2 this afternoon, Jordan Lewis, both to the other end, and he's missed as well.
Well, it's amazing to think that Hawthorn are only 2 points up, yet they've nearly doubled the inside 50s. 21 to the Bullies, 40 to Hawthorn.
20 scoring shots to 13. 11 minutes gone, third term.
These are the days in the coaching box, Dave, you get frustrated. I'm talking about Alistair Clarkson here because they're doing everything right. Their structures are right. Their ball use from behind the forward 50. It's just inside their forward 50 where they haven't been efficient.
Harris, short, McDougall, off hands, cross. Oh, he left it behind. They had the loose man as well. Stolen back by Ladson, and now the Hawks are away. Bateman to Crawford. The leads come. Boyle's on the move, about to fly. Can't bring it down. Franklin lurking, had it but lost it. Will get a ball in. Rowan Smith on the boundary.
Just an update, Dwayne, on Tom Williams. The doctors were just worried about his ribs at the moment with that collision with Brian Harris, so they've given him a couple of painkillers. Just sitting on the bench now. Should be back on soon.
And the ball in. Vandenberg stole it. Kick smothered. Hodge dives in. Good commitment. Campbell Brown one way. Hodge the other. But there's no one in the goal square. Young trying to get back. Johnson all the way back to full back. And that's been the tale of his afternoon. Hasn't had many opportunities up forward. He's kicked 54 for the year. West. Eagleton. Power. Misses West. Young's got him.
Good
He got
pressure
the
again from
handball
the
out
Hawks.
to Chance Bateman. And now to Mitchell. He's got Lewis if he wants him. Hits him with an underground pass. Clean bowled him. And the turnover. Cross. Johnson. Straight down the middle to Hargrave. Eagleton. Bulldogs playing for their lives at the moment. West. He gathers back to Eagleton. Sizes them up from 50. Loads up. Drop punt. Wide. Only a behind.
I think a bit of critical, Dwayne, of Sam Mitchell then. Turning on his left and tried to overplay it.
This is a hard skill to teach, David. Campbell Brown just going hard at the contest like that.
He's a very brave player.
You've either got it or you haven't got it.
True.
And the
Campbell
old-fashioned
Brown's got it.
turn of the body too at the ball rather than go head down. Young.
You're right, Dwayne. Darryl Baldock always said, never put your head where your backside can fit, and you'll play a lot longer than you normally should.
Think about that for a little while. From the wing. Shuffled out, but missed the target. Ellis. Smith. Ellis. Bateman. And he has some space. Franklin leads to the pocket. It's wide, and Hodge gets there in front of him.
Give you a chance from it.
And he likes his chances. Long left, but it's across the face. Another behind. It's a tight contest at the moment.
Well, it's a fatiguing style of play. Both sides are playing. Rowan, do you reckon they'll be able to keep this quick flowing play going?
Well, it's like circle work at the moment, but you can see when the Bulldogs turn the ball over in the middle of the ground, Hawthorn are just out, and they've just got too many options going forward.
Gilby stole it, but it's coming back.
Great result.
Hawthorn free. Trent Crode.
Too long in the tackle.
He'll play his 200th next week. Trent Crode gives off to Mitchell. Heads toward Hodge. Fist on the ball by Power. And rough head. It's a
kick
free.
to Hodge.
Yeah, Power interfered with Hodge, hand over the shoulder, and I think he's a bit lucky to get away with that. A couple of Sam Mitchell's distribution coming forward. The last two kicks haven't been great.
Luke Hodge. Massive opportunity here for the Hawks. 14 minutes gone in this third term. That's what the free's for.
Stiff.
It was a little bit stiff, but the beauty of that forward play from Luke Hodge, you see him turn the body. He protected the area where the ball was going to drop, so he gave Sam Power no opportunity whatsoever to get a piece of the football.
From directly in front. To extend the lead to 8 points. He kissed it sweetly. He's got 2.
That's great science. Luke Hodge kicked 2 goals, 2. Jordan Lewis 2. So your midfielder not only winning the ball in the middle of the ground where it counts, Parko, they're hurting the opposition on the scoreboard.
Danny's since quarter time. I didn't think he was a very effective player in the first quarter for whatever reason, but forward and middle since quarter time, some of the stuff he's done only Hodge and Judd and company could do.
He's a super important player for the makeup of the Hawks. He's a great weapon for Alistair Clarkson to have because he can sweep behind the ball. He can go in the midfield and run and carry and destroy the midfield. Also, as we see now, he's gone to the goal square. So this will really put young Power under massive mental pressure. Playing at full back.
Brad Johnson playing in front of Hodge in the hole.
Yes. Which has released Birchall in the back half for Hawthorn.
Desperate times and desperate measures from the ball up. Bulldogs season, almost an elimination. Quarter and a half coming up for them here. Williams, Cooney, handball, Eagleton, shuffled it back. Eagleton again. 60 from goal. Ackermanis. Send it inside 50 with the left, but there's no one home. Guerra dropped it, mopped it up. So Gillum to Young.
The first quarter, the handball from the Bulldogs was crisp and clean. The last 2 quarters just fumble those handballs somewhat.
Chance Bateman. Tucked up against the boundary line, keeps it alive. Hodge. Sam Power's got him. He shrugged him with the leg strength. The 1-2 with Young. Hodge back inboard. Birchall No targets to go to inside 50. Hodge kicks long and hopes. Franklin!
Take a bow, Luke Hodge. Got a great passage of play, great mark.
Plays on end. Just kicks the goal.
Just over the fingernails there, Dwayne.
Hearts in mouths. Lance Franklin kicks his second.
We can't beat class. And Luke Hodge and Lance Franklin have it in spades. We see here shrugging the tackle. Handball inboard from Hodge, but the key to this play, he kept running. He wanted the ball in his hands and kicked it to a very dangerous spot. Forward just loved the ball to the fat side, about 15 metres out from goal. Puts any defence under massive pressure. And when you're as tall and as athletic as Lance Franklin, basically no chance.
Well, what about the play on, Dan? If you've been coach here, what do you reckon? It just cleared the man on the mark, and he put his hand up on it. Oh.
I think I'll give him the benefit of the doubt after
Dan.
kicking 1 goal 6. I think he wants to play on David.
Darcy in the ruck now. Campbell almost wins the takeaway. Cooney had it lost at Sewell. Raked in. Ellis. Mitchell. High bomb. Franklin lurking. Got it.
They don't get any smaller, these boys.
And he is an outstanding athlete. Lance Franklin is... Father, of course, played hockey for Western Australia. His sisters played netball for Australia as well. And he looks like being around for a long, long time, delighting the crowds for a decade or more.
Well, Luke Hodge has already had 10 disposals this quarter. Sam Power, great first quarter. I think Rodney Eade will either do one of two things. Say, boy, you got him for the day and you need to work through it, or make a change.
Rodney Eade could have had him full stop. They could have taken him. They took Ryan Griffin instead in the draft, and Franklin went next pick to the Hawks. Pick 5. Griffin was pick 4. That's across the face, and he's now kicked 2 goals, 7.
And Dwayne, the Bulldogs have got to be a little bit more alert when Franklin's got the ball, because he knows he's going to play on, so they should crowd around him a little bit.
Brent Guerra getting some more work done to that cut on the cheek. Johnson, a long way from where he'd like to be.
The Hawks love to see Johnson getting the ball this deep.
Harris. Boyd from halfbacks trying to build it up. Cross. Johnson. West. Cross. Fumble. Danger. The Hawks can smell blood here. Hodge inside 50. Dixon sweeps the handball wide to Young. Can shoot it or pass it to Lewis in the pocket. And a little nudge. And 50. Certain goal
It was there.
for Jordan Lewis.
It was frustration from Cooney. It was just frustration. Lewis had marked the ball, and there was a secondary action from Cooney. It was always going to be 50.
Lewis has 3. And the Dogs have some problems.
Well, the main problem is that Hawthorn are now kicking accurate.
Well, and there's a deluge, and they've tried to get their run through the middle. West's hand pass was a shocker. Went behind, turned over, and going to be how far? Look, oh yeah, it's a touchdown.
Not happy with it, Parker?
No, I'm not happy.
We'll just have another look here. Marks the ball.
Technically, it's on.
After looking at it in slow-mo, not a lot in it. Jordan Lewis is happy with it, though. It's his 3rd goal.
He'd be delighted. Birthday present.
Biggest margin of the game for the Hawks. 21 points. And the ball up. Sewell, they're dominating now. Crawford, Hodge, to Wobbler inside 50. Plenty of players back now for the Bulldogs, just filling holes in defence. Everett to Darcy, to Johnson, and 50.
What's that?
Well, then it's 50.
It's got to be 50.
It's got to be 50. I mean, you can't have it both ways.
He has. Darcy. Farron Ray, he's missed him.
They've missed some targets through the middle of the ground in this quarter, the Bullies.
Taylor, Birchall, Mitchell, Sewell, Ladson. Got a couple of options. Birchall, he likes his chances. Runs to 48 and nails it. And in the process, nails the Bulldogs to the wall.
They're getting some mistakes, but to Hawthorn's credit, they've created these mistakes by pressuring the ball carrier since quarter time. Their efforts when they haven't got the ball, Alistair Clarkson would be wrapped with this.
I agree with that, but I thought a team that got such a good start with the ball, the Bulldogs started as we know they can do. There was absolutely no... I hear what you're saying about the pressure, but a couple of those then were only what's word perceived pressure. There wasn't hands on them, etc., and they missed target. We've had 4 turnovers between the 50s, which have gone straight back for goals of Hawthorn when Western Bullies were controlling the ball through the corridor.
Pretty hard to blame the Bullies' defence because the ball's been in there 50 times. They're under massive pressure. You're right, it's the midfielders.
Taylor and Skipper in the ruck. Mitchell another possession, got it out to Hodge, who will get another possession for being held. They can smell blood. They know they can land the knockout blow before three-quarter time here, the Hawks. Bateman inside 50, just past Franklin. Oh, that was untidy. Brought down Power. And Hargrave shows his displeasure.
It's good courage from Power. Just kept his head over the ball.
Yeah, it was okay.
Just untidy. Just the key to that tackle there. Just got to go low with your arms in that tackle.
Eagleton low. Speaking of low, to White. And he heads way wide. And now the Bulldogs having problems with their accuracy, as the Hawks did early. Birchall, Campbell-Brown. Had an all-Australian season, Campbell-Brown, beaten some of the big guns of the competition at half-back.
He's beaten the best of the best today, Dwayne. Brad Johnson.
Bateman towards Dixon, thumped away, and we'll get a ball in with 4:24 left on the clock to three-quarter time.
What's the voice like down there from the Bulldogs, Smithy?
Yeah, I was just going to say, Spud, it looks a little bit ominous. I think the wheels could fall off the barrel really quickly here because they're just starting to just drop their heads a little bit at the moment.
The reason I ask that is because it's super important the Bulldogs play 4 quarters here, Parko, because their body language, it hasn't been great. The shoulders are slumped, the torque, the bounces out of their game, their run and carry.
Bounce, Johnson at halfback trying to inspire his team. Sends a torpedo towards the wing. Campbell-Brown hunting it down, wants it to stay in, but it doesn't. And we'll get a ball in. Rodney had said during the week they've had a poor year, the Bulldogs, but perhaps it's the poor season they had to have. A little twist on the Paul Keating phrase, but it's been a tough year to swallow for Bulldog fans after last year's good performance where they made the finals and hammered Collingwood. Crawford shrugs the tackle with leg strength. Hodge to Dixon. Little nudge on the kick. Sends it to full forward, and Lewis again will line up for number 4.
Well, it's the Hodge and Lewis show since quarter time for the goal scoring.
I felt a bit sorry. Williams has been under a bit of pressure and he's been off the ground. He took a very bad whack, 20 minutes ago. It's been tough for him.
Well, Hodge and Lewis, a couple of Geelong Falcon boys, combining here well. He's got 4.
That's great going to the finals, knowing you've got a bit of a swing player, or 2 swing players now. Lewis, renowned in and under player in the midfield. Hodge also, but they can push forward. They're strong overhead. Very
strong, and I've not seen that with Lewis. Lewis hasn't indicated that he'd be good at that. Or Hodge, we know, front, back or middle. But this bloke has now added another string to the bow, which Hawthorn would be very pleased to have.
It's always been good, Jordan Lewis. He won Hawthorn's best first-year player ahead of Lance Franklin and Jared Roughead, even though they've had the more publicised careers, Lance Franklin especially, but they're all taken in the one draft. And what a draft it's proving to be for Hawthorn. And the ball up. Hodge trying to get the takeaway. Jin Siracusa with him. And it comes out to Lewis. They combine again. Stolen back by Boyd. Power. Little grab is perfect from Williams. Inside 50, Johnson. Sends it long. Big fly by Gillum. He missed the ball completely, and Smith mops it up to Gillum. Campbell-Brown. Mitchell. Inside 3 minutes to three-quarter time. No need to do anything crazy right now. They've had the best of this third term, the Hawks. Robert Campbell calls it long. Skipper's with him. Thumps it toward the boundary, but to Eagleton. Now Johnson. Looks for a target inside 50 and might hit one. He dives, but can't mark it. Tiller. Campbell Brown. Lewis on the open side. No one to go too long. And Young just wobbles it toward the wing. Out of play might be a win. Coming hard, White. And it is out of play. It is a win for Hawthorn because it was a 3-on-2 in the Bulldogs' favour. 92 plays 60. Robert Campbell and Skipper make the ground. They're both a little spent. One side of the ground or the other. West stole Crawford's handball. Eagleton. Ackermanis. Eagleton. Murphy can't reach it. Smith. Murphy ties him up. Holds him up. Still got it, Smith. He's gone, Smith.
The umpire took his time.
I think Smithy conceded. Will you blow the whistle?
Well, he did. That's why I'm sort of giggling.
I'm embarrassed here. Get this over with.
I've got nowhere to go. Any danger, you could blow the whistle up.
Murphy to Ray. Have they got one last effort in them, the Dogs? Can they save their season from here? West to Boyd. Inside 50, Darcy can't rake it in. Crow thumped it out. Sewell, Darcy brings him down. He pushed him into the car park beneath. Guerra, Hodge. And now Bateman can't bring it in. West. And Bateman says, come up for me. And Boyle does. With him, McDougall. And he keeps it alive along the line. He's turned it over. Young didn't take the mark. Boyd almost conceded. And he sends it long and wide, and it's out of play on the full. A sloppy minute and a half of play. 48 seconds left in the term.
You have a look at the Bulldogs forward line. The Hawk backmen are fresh. And the other end, the Bulldogs backmen are tired because they're continually under a constant barrage where the Hawks defenders, they're having a field day at the moment.
Out wide. Williams. Skipper. Back to Williams. Back to Skipper. He's got the target inside 50. It's Jern Siracusa. So he will have perhaps the last kick of the term. And maybe their chances rest on this kick because he can give them momentum into the last change. You'll hear the siren on the kick. If he plays on now, he's in trouble. From the paint to keep them alive.
Beautiful kick.
Great kick.
That is a sensational kick, and they've got a pulse, the Bulldogs.
They desperately needed that goal just on three-quarter time to just give them a little bit of hope going to the game. But it was all the Hawks that quarter.
Fantastic. Most players, when they hear the siren, they stop, go back and line up again. He just continued through the siren and put it through. Great effort.
They've still got breath. The Bulldogs fighting to keep their finals hopes alive. The Hawks fighting to get their top four spot back tonight. Three-quarter time here at the Dome. It's Hawthorn 13-14, 92 to the Bulldogs 10-6, 66. Taylor, Birchall, Mitchell, Sewell, Ladson. Got a couple of options. Birchall, he likes his chances, runs to 48 and nails it. And in the process, nails the Bulldogs to the wall. Three-quarter time here at the Telstra Dome. The finals chances of the Western Bulldogs on the line in this final term coming up. Alistair Clarkson having a word to his troops, and one of his assistants, Ross Lyon, is downstairs. In fact, Ross Smith is downstairs with Rowan Smith.
Well, Ross, a great third quarter, but also helps when you kick straight.
It does. We didn't start real well in that area, but yeah, we found the goals the last couple of quarters really. Just the 1-7 in the first quarter set us back a little bit. Really starting to win the ball in the midfield as well, which has been important against this midfield. You know, obviously you've got to win your fair share, so it's been really positive for us in the third quarter.
And how are the boys feeling? It is a little bit warm out here today.
Yeah, it's almost summer. It's certainly finals is just around the corner, isn't it, when it's warm like this? But no, the boys are pretty fresh. I think we'll run the game out pretty well, Smith.
Good luck in the last quarter.
Ross Smith, the two Smiths together. And Rodney Eade, they call him Rocket, gentlemen, and it looks like a rocket is what they got at three-quarter time.
It's a good old-fashioned spray by the look of it.
And he's one of the best that we well know. He's one of my boys from away get back. It's a bit of a worry. So it's just a bit
He's
of a
learned
worry.
from you, Parker.
Well, I hope he hasn't learned from me, because I didn't learn the lessons early enough. They were having a go, Dan. They were having a go, but they just not as good as the opposition.
But no doubt to be talking about maybe their body language, where when the Hawks kicked a couple of goals, so it'd be really stressing to those boys to make sure you finish off this game of football. There's another quarter of football to go.
Well, and it'll be interesting for us to sit up here as two old coaches thinking we know best.
Yeah.
We'll see the response of that group to the situation, because the opposition are dominant. They're rampaging at the moment, and it'll take a very good committed effort across the board from Western Bullies to stop what I think might be a deluge in the last quarter.
26 points the margin. Bulldogs need to win their last two games and then hope. Well, they need the sun, the earth and the moon to line up in the next week to make the finals. And that is actually happening, so they're a chance. From the ball up. Skipper. From the contest, Taylor. Hodge. And a wide ball. Young. Hargrove. Harris. Back to Boyd. Maintaining possession. Giansiracusa along the line to Ackermanis. And he sends a high ball. Skipper's trying hard to get there, but they're late.
Well, that will be 50.
50.
There's no doubting that. That was late.
Well, it's because he pulled up. He almost pulled up so he didn't make contact and then made his contact too late. And Campbell Brown was always going to take the mark.
It's just a waste of effort.
See, he pulled up there. I mean, Campbell Brown virtually ran into him, sucked him in, heads inside 50 towards Roughhead. Hargrave. Around Roughhead. Cooney gathers it off hands, although he missed it. Johnson. Guerra doesn't miss it. Sends it inside 50. Williams shrugs a tackle. McDougall, in fact, it was straight to Campbell Brown. Perfect half volley. Taylor. Campbell Brown. He can sense it. And he misses. Only behind.
Was a magnificent pickup. Your half volley you called, Dwayne, but to be running at speed like that and to gather the ball as crisply and cleanly compared with the effort by Cooney and Johnson a few seconds before, boy.
If there's any doubt that Campbell Brown would be in the mix for All-Australian, if the selectors are watching this game, I think the pencil will turn to ink.
Franklin tries to tap it on. Might go off the deck. It rolls through for a behind, but they've been untidy since quarter time, the Bulldogs, and right now you can sense they almost want the knockout punch. I know they're gone. And they haven't got any fight left. Harris. West. Two champions. Crawford holds him up. He comes long. Boyd. Stagnant football at the moment from the Dogs. Giansiracusa. Got a couple of options leading for him. Eagleton out wide. And it's knocked out of play, and we'll get a ball in. Latson making the contest with him. And there's some anger out there. Even Murphy throwing his weight around what little he's got. From the ball in. White tries to palm it down. Guerra. Crawford. He's caught. West flips it up to Young. Ladson. Chance Bateman runs for him. So too does Shane Crawford. He runs hard. Gilby tried to trap it. Bateman does. 45 from goal. Passes toward Franklin. Can't get there. Good spoil. Morris is free.
Yeah, that was great play from Morris. Denied Franklin the front position. That was excellent play. And a 50 metres too, I think. Dwayne.
Okay, against Lance Franklin.
Tuck it on your arm and go some.
Pokes the pass to Eagleton, and he can run. Sends a long bomb, hoping for Darcy. He can't get back in time, and Crode takes the mark. Trent Crode. Taylor in the defensive goal square wide to Lewis, who marks on the line at half back. It was a dangerous kick but he made it look perfect. Mitchell had an outstanding afternoon at the office. Sam Mitchell, possession number 20 coming up. He sends it wide to Sewell.
Well, this will be number 28 for him, Dwayne. He's been a super player today. Played on Cooney also. Had Cooney taken out of the midfield early. He's as tough as they come, Brad Sewell.
Takes him on and loses. White with the tackle, and it's holding the ball.
He called play on. The umpire didn't grab.
All the players stopped. They thought it was holding the ball.
No, it wasn't.
They could have given the free kick by committee, the players. Mitchell hands it up to Birchall. Hodge with the left. You can stick a fork in the Western Bulldogs. They're cooked.
Look, they are, Dwayne. And again, the midfielders, Hodge. Gee, what a magnificent kick. He knew the pressure was on. We see here, yeah, he did get the handball away, so it was play on the call there. But the goal from Hodge was a super goal, Parko. It was one thing to kick it, but the pressure was really bearing down. We see the handball here. He knew the pressure was coming, but just had the eyes on the ball and focused on kicking the ball straight over the goal umpire's hat.
Yeah, it's a special play because I mean the stability he maintained in the kick without getting, letting the hit or the physicality take him offline. Again, wonderful effort.
Hodge has 3, and the Hawks with the 4 points this afternoon, with 1 round remaining, have a spot back in the top 4. Ackermanis. He sends it along inside 50. Crode comes hard, ball to the back. Campbell Brown again, hunts it down. Darcy shoots out a handball, finds Murphy. He tries to shoot it out. Guerra with the tackle, and all the players look around at the umpire again.
Well, Guerra's holding a tackle on the player. The ball's sitting behind them both.
Never even had the ball in his hands.
That's right.
The tackling's been super since quarter time, though, the Hawks.
Taylor and White. Front spot, Lewis dragged down, going nowhere. Ball! Well, the umpire says that he was the ruckman and he dragged it down. The only reason he was the ruckman was because the ball up was crooked.
Would like to have another look at it. We see here. Where was the prior?
Well, you don't get prior.
Don't get prior to the ruckman. So he's counting him.
Oh,
he's counting Lewis.
Yeah,
I think that's what he's done, counting Lewis.
No, well, that is absolutely
But if you're the
correct
first
way.
player to touch the ball after a ruck bounce in that instance,
Good decision.
You don't get prior.
But if the bounce is such that the ruckman can't get near it, Murphy has missed. The footy gods are here.
Exactly.
That's why the Hawks, I wonder why they complain. They're probably saying to the umpire, well, the bounce is ineffective.
That's right.
It's a clanger.
100 plays 67. But as bad as the Dogs have been since quarter time, the Hawks have been impressive. Wide kick. Lewis. An outstanding afternoon, Jordan Lewis.
The Hawks would have had a couple of demons going into this game, Dwayne, from last week against Port down in Tasmania. That last 2 minutes of football. And it's great to see him bounce back and have a terrific win.
Bateman takes it out. Their final game next week, the Hawks, is on Sunday afternoon from the Sydney Cricket Ground. Big game for both the Sydney Swans and Hawthorn.
I'm going to be there, Dwayne. I'm not sure about you, but I'm going to be there.
I'll be there. It's a Fox Sports 1 game. And don't forget, there's another one coming up after this. Essendon versus Richmond from the Melbourne Cricket Ground. The last game at the G for Sheedy and Hurd. To the midfield. Campbell Brown tracks it down, thumps it out to Guerra. Has to shoot the handball to Ladson. Cut off by Everett to Skipper. Long kick. Darcy, Crode, one-on-one. Crode's fist wins out. Birchall to Smith. He's had a very good year, Trent Crode. Smith wide, and Dixon all the way back to half-back. Gathers and gives to Brown.
It's an underrated year, Dwayne, at the key post. Trent Crode, super important to their setup. You have a look at their defence. Campbell Brown plays above his height. You see Birchall running the ball out. Probably the only big body in their defence, Trent Crode.
Franklin takes the mark, and he will line up from 45.
If Western Blues did a win today, Darcy would have had to kick 4 or 5 as he did last week.
Johnson.
Crave was out, and Johnson too, and so both of those, Johnson's been absolutely towed up. And I think Crowe, without doing an enormous amount with the ball, he's prevented Darcy from becoming an important cog in it.
Trent Crowe will play his 200th game next week in that game we talked of against Sydney. 84 for the Hawks the first time before his 38 for Fremantle. And Lance Franklin might end up in the record books tonight. He's kicked 2 goals, 8 for the afternoon.
Well, that's the only real disappointment, isn't it, for the day in all of the work they've done is just their non-finishing, particularly by Franklin.
Harris and now Johnson.
Well, I'm glad you qualified it, David, because it's not they. It's actually one player.
One player, yeah.
Gian Syracuse short to Cooney. Flies and holds it. Campbell Brown holds him up. Played 10 minutes final term. And Luke Darcy stands under it in his second last game of AFL footy. Couldn't get a fly at it. Sewell had it, bounced it, dropped it, gave it. Crawford. Over the top to Vandenberg. The handball and run. Franklin lurking inside 50 again. Might gather the crumb. Couldn't take the mark. Knocks it under Morris. Drags him down when he didn't have it. Hodge. He's caught. Tries to roll through the trouble. And it comes out somehow. Franklin caught by Morris. And the umpire will ball it up.
Alistair Clarkson will be wrapped with that passage of play. In the first quarter, the Bulldogs are running the ball out. We'll just have a look at the crowd there, 32,734. But that's a win for the Hawks, a ball up inside their forward 50.
Roughhead couldn't get the kick away. Shuffles it out. Cooney stole it to Cross. Gian Syracuse. Murphy's on the run. Birchall and Bateman. He's got 2 to beat. Boundary line a win for him. Or the fence isn't.
That's great play. Again, Hawthorn pushing the Bulldogs wide. Every time the boys have tried to go through the corridor, they've been under massive pressure.
Skipper and Campbell. Robert Campbell's been good in the ruck. Gian Syracuse, Eagleton. Here's Robert Campbell again about to trap it, although he puts a little shepherd on cross. Allows the loose man, Lewis, Birchall, Sewell, Franklin to the pocket. He's on the move. Can't get there to take the mark to his own advantage. Silky skills to Hodge. Oh, Duck's out of trouble. Delightful.
What a super player, Luke Hodge. I love watching him play. 4 goals, 30 disposals.
In Franklin's defence, though, Dan, in Franklin's defence over all this, he's set up with 4, I think maybe 5 delightful slipped hand passes, all resulting directly in goals. So that's one thing he's done very well.
It's been a big improvement in his game. You see, he's had the 7 handballs, and you're right, Parko, most of those have been lace out, and that's a goal assist.
One thing I'd do if I'd Hawthorn now, I'd put Boyle on the ball. I'd give Boyle's been cut out or not participated. He needs some footy, and the big 2 blokes have done fairly well. I get Campbell off now, put Boyle onto the ball, get him run around and get some ball.
And the ball up. Kick smothered. Gian Syracuse threads it out. Eagleton hunted down by Lewis, but he found Ackermanis. Gets some booze. Johnson. Who'd have thought Jason Ackermanis, after being dumped by the Brisbane Lions halfway through last year, would have a more controversial season this year than last. Smith shoots it all the way back. Gillum takes them on. Ellis. He's been steady, and he sends it wide to Lewis, who can run. Vandenberg peels off for him, and the captain might get it. It bounces kindly. Franklin calls back. It's in his direction. He's got the drop.
Well, it's just a super kick from the skipper.
He's delighted with that.
Well, he put the ball to the corridor, but the key to it, he saw Morris playing in front. Instead of darting the ball, he just give the ball some elevation here. He assesses. Key to the kick was he looked in and then give the ball some height, and it was all over for Morris as soon as you saw the ball with the elevation that it had.
Well, he could have kicked 10 this afternoon. And from 45, he lines up, and he's now kicked 2 goals, 10.
Well, I was joking about the Coleman medal punters before, Dwayne, but now not only are they pulling their hair out, they're now bald.
He's not just having fun with us, is he? McDougall along with the kick in. Massive pack flies. Campbell Brown to Sewell. Ellis. Vandenberg. Good to see him back and in form today, and he gets the free. Ben McGlynn dropped at the last minute. Richie Vandenberg brought in.
It's a great inclusion. Young McGlynn's had a terrific season. Obviously getting a little bit tired. Great to bring the skipper back in. You see Sam Mitchell come off the ground, Crawford on.
Roughhead flies. He wants a piece of the action.
Well, neither he or Boyle have actually contributed all that much. I mean, they haven't been well beaten by their opponents, but have just had reasonable access to the ball. This will be Roughhead's third, I think, if he kicks this one, which would be a good afternoon's return, because I'm suggesting Boyle needs some work to be done now.
Really grown in the last half of the year. Jared Roughhead was in the reserves, playing for the Box Hill Hawks in the VFL. And he's now got 3 goals straight for the afternoon.
Yep, 3 shots on goal, 3 goals. He's partnering crime, Lance Franklin. 12 shots on goal, 2 goals, 10. So you see Roughhead come off the ground and Dixon on.
Well, that's good.
He's got a great vertical leap, Jared Roughhead. You see that, the basketball background? He's got the double-legged jump. He doesn't jump off the one leg, which gives him that extra elevation. Great to see him mark the ball in front of your eyes like that when you jump early. Very hard to defend against.
And he's got better. Dan, early in the season, he dropped too many that actually got to his hands, but he's now taking what he should.
He's got a nice head of hair there too.
So after kicking the first goal, 4 goals of the afternoon, the Dogs, they're now being demolished. Ellis, White, Johnson. He's playing for pride at the moment, the Bulldogs. One last game next week here at the Dome for the season. It's against the Kangaroos.
Brownie, a bit upset. And Brownie's just like a ferret, isn't he? He just doesn't leave him alone. Oh, it'd be a nightmare to play on.
That's the best compliment he could receive. Kick inside 50. It's exactly what he'd like people to say about him. Birchall, Ellis, Sewell, Crawford with the look-away handball. Lewis. He's got Boyle short. That's ignored. Vandenberg left it behind. Ray dumped into the turf.
Great tackle.
Hargrave, Everett. He just bombs it long and hope. And the Hawks have got that many players back. Reading it well. They almost spoil each other. Crowed.
We just saw the high ball going to the Bullies forward line. That suits the Hawthorn defence. The high ball up the other end, alternatively, when it goes into Hawthorn, it just smells like a goals on the end of it because Franklin, Boyle, Roughhead, Dixon.
It's a good tackle by Ackermanis, caused the turnover. And Power sends it long inside 50. Brett Johnson gets back. Ladson, Crowed, Gillum. And now Chance Bateman from the pocket. He's got Lewis short. He ignores that, goes all the way back. Mitchell, Crowed. Mitchell again. Crawford on the wing can run. Boyle. Short pass and Tim Boyle takes the mark. He's got Young on 50. Thought about playing on.
We'll get to the top of the square.
Franklin's there.
And Hodge.
And Hodge. Good use of the body. All the hands. Take your pick. And line up for number 5. Luke Hodge.
The key again, great marking from the forwards, but it's the...
Short to Dixon.
Just about to say the unselfishness of the Hawthorn ball carrier. To give the ball to someone in a better position is great team football. Alistair Clarkson would be tickled pink with the delivery into the forward line, assessing the options and giving it to the player in the best position.
Well, and to give it off to Dixon. This is his 200th reward. He just got free. Could have kicked the goal easily, Hodge, but now he's helping a teammate through his 200th to a remarkable game.
For his second for the afternoon. Was never in doubt.
Super. All the players get around Dixon. That's a great sign. To win big games in finals football, you need all players doing their little bit. And The team orientation they've showed today has been excellent.
Been fantastic. Boyle's delivery too. I just forget what a good kick he is. Even in general play, the little kick over the top to his mate was beautifully done. Yeah, they've been disappointing, the Western Bullies. I think in the finish, I think Rocket, whatever was said at three-quarter time, there hasn't been a great response in the sense of the way they've gone about the world. It's fallen off since half-time dramatically.
You're right, because you can be beaten but not defeated.
And they are now defeated.
I think they've had both today, unfortunately.
Campbell and White from the ball up. Eagleton. Campbell stole it back. Wants Mitchell. Gets him, but it was a little low. And Crawford. It's been sparkling. Lewis. Hodge on the left for number 5. You betcha.
What a game. What a start. 32 disposals, 5 goals. He got it just reward because the players, you give Ben Dixon a goal a minute ago, and now it comes back in spades, and that's fantastic. That you start to grow a lot of mateship, team orientation, and more importantly, spirit.
Yeah, the courtesy's catching there. Sacrifice in footy has the reciprocal response from people, just like courtesy does in normal life. And he's a great team player. I mean, I think they've got a huge decision, Hawthorn, about Hodge and Mitchell, who's going to be the leadership stakes after Vandenberg, and I would appoint them both. I think Gerard Healy said during the week that's the way they should go about. They've both been superb attributes, and hopefully that will be the job that's done.
So Hodge has 5. Mitchell has had an outstanding afternoon, bounced back from last week's performance. Smith shoots it wide. Young inside 6 minutes to full time. And he sends it long. Hodge is under it again. Dixon will be the flyer. Beautiful hands.
Strong body. Again, just a beautiful kick from the Hawks.
Well, you'd like...
Well, sorry, Don.
Just got to say, you'd like 200 games and 279 goals from a player you pick 77 in a draft, and that's what he was back in 1994, the year Jeff White was number 1. Ben Dixon was picked 77.
From Assumption College.
Didn't debut until 97 under the older Hawthorn tradition of making players wait.
Trying to take that discussion a little further, when he was picked up at 77, a man that I think the Western Bullies have missed enormously today in Chris Grant. I think from memory, well over the 100 mark.
He was picked 105, Chris Grant, you're right. And is next week going to be Chris Grant's last game? He was picked 105 in the 1988 draft, Chris Grant. And hasn't he been a superstar? Might be his 341st and last next week. 3 goals now for Ben Dixon.
It certainly has. That kick wins finals football. Under pressure, you need players to compete in the contested stakes. Hawthorn's midfield are tough, their back line steady, and their forward line love the high ball.
Campbell, copybook down to Crawford. Well, they're running rings around them at the moment. Smith, Franklin. Can he take the mark? He flies and spoils. Down to Boyle. Hodge, he's got 6.
I mean, that's fair.
You found your crummer,
no, that's right. But let's go back in the centre bounce. I reckon if you ever, any team in the competition, if I was a coach now, I'd go and get this quarter of footy, and I'd go to all the centre bounces and the clearances. They are absolutely sensational, Hawthorn, at working the ball out to get somebody free out of what should be. And it either means that Western Bullies have given up and are dreadful at it. And I don't think the aerial stuff's been the great difference. It's been what's been done at ground level. They have been superb.
Well, 23-7. That's a smacking in anyone's language. Todd Viney, the midfield coach, he's doing a super job with those midfielders.
33 possessions, 6 goals, 2 for Luke Hodge. He's played every game this year. In fact, he's played every game the last 2 seasons. He hasn't missed a game since the one game he missed through a suspension the club gave him for missing that training session after celebrating his 21st. And he is a superstar of the competition now, Luke Hodge, and that's as Birchall takes a good mark.
Well, that's what you want to see, Dwayne. You play the game from the start to the end. And Alistair Clarkson will be wrapped with Birchall's effort in that contest.
Lewis, Ellis. Read the traffic was coming, gave it back. And he sends it inside 50, and Boyle can't fly from behind McDougall.
Well, that's been the one positive from the Bulldogs, McDougall. His form's been super on Boyle today.
Birchall again got a hand in. Mitchell is feeding it wide. Gillum. And now Campbell Brown, and he pokes it to Young. And he runs on. Campbell Brown should get this. And he does. Turns 24 years of age next week, Campbell Brown. Still got a lot of footy ahead of him.
Just we go one step back. You would have a look. Maybe I said criticism of Western Bulldogs midfielder, but again that was Cross, Western, and Eagleton with the three. Well, they're not duds in that sort of role, are they? They've got a record and history, which is good.
Well, they're second guessing themselves at the moment.
Well, you can just about ink him into the All-Australian team, Campbell Brown. The All-Australian defender gets a goal.
Well, colleague Gerard Healy would be listening to this, Wayne. He'll be warming up for the big game over at the MCG tonight between Essendon and Richmond. The Kevin Sheedy, James Hird farewell game, and we'll have to ask a serious question if Campbell Brown's not in there, David.
He'll be there.
That's a serious question if Hodge isn't there.
Well, yeah, that's probably a good statement too, Dwayne. I'm not sure that he's been as what's the word, as effective as much as Brownie has in the role that he's played.
He'd be in my team, Dwayne.
Mitchell.
Hodge, Mitchell.
From the ball up. Taylor dives in. And he's having a pretty good season as well, Simon Taylor. Just 7 games last year, no goals, and had 14 kicks for the entire season last year, Simon Taylor. He's played every game this year. And the captain of the Bulldogs, Brad Johnson, looks like he's spending the last couple of minutes on the bench. Ellis, Campbell Brown, Birchall, play on advantage. Young, Franklin, can he get the fly? Can, got a hand to it, knocked it down. Hodge thought about having a shot for number 7, but got caught. Gilby, Gin Syracusa, it's still alive. Sewell, Bateman, Boyle's turn from the pocket. So Tim Boyle.
Lions are called, Dwayne.
Okay. McDougall.
Boyle's not happy.
It might come back shortly. Campbell Brown's got it. 2 minutes and counting. The Hawks will move into the top 4 with 1 round remaining. They play the Sydney Swans at the SCG next Sunday afternoon. Game you'll catch on Fox Sports. Wide to Franklin. Got a little push. Got a big push. And he'll take the free on 50. Tough kick from there, and if he has a shot and misses, it'll be 2 goals 11.
Interesting mindset on this one. Would you have a go or would you give it off? Given your record up to this point, you're going to try and make it better, or it'll be interesting.
Have a shot, get your mojo back. Left foot. Missed. 2 goals 11.
I'm telling you, he's in 2 minds. That's his problem.
So a long kick in. Campbell Brown gets there, front spot.
He's on
Mark
fire.
Eagleton.
He's got his own ball the last 10 minutes, Campbell Brown.
The ears are burning. We've been talking about him so much in this final term. Young, he might load up from 55. Heads long. Oh, it's pretty.
Party time.
Well, it's been, I think, an absolute demolition in the last quarter, Dan. I must admit, you can get some goals in junk time. I thought Western Bullies might have come back. They're in such a frame of mind after, well, probably after half-time, but after 3/4 time, coach got in and gave him a serve. I haven't seen any kind of response that suggests that those words landed on fertile soil.
The key things I've found in the last 3 quarters is the amount of times Hawthorn have been able to get the handball away in the tackle, their strength and their competitiveness, their ability to chase down the opposition. Their run, Rowan Smith, it'll be important leading into the finals, the Hawks.
Yeah, that's exactly right, Spud. And they've beaten the Bulldogs at their own game plan today with run and carry and the delivery into the forward line. They've just absolutely smashed the Bulldogs today.
Bulldogs have kicked 1 behind in this final term. 1 solitary behind. And the Hawks have owned the ball. They've kicked 9 goals in this final quarter. Young got it from Mitchell. 60 seconds and counting, and Vandenberg. Great return for him. The captain's back. Franklin calls for it long. It's in his direction. Hodge with the spoil. Gian Siracusa, strong hands. Gilby. Eagleton. West into trouble and out of trouble to Skipper. And Darcy's on the move inside 50. Can't get there to mark it. And he got a little nudge according to the umpire. So a consolation prize for Luke Darcy in his second last game of AFL football.
I'd like to see that one again. To me, it just seemed like a terrific body spoil.
Yeah. It was a chest in the back rule.
That was at least a good forward constructive
That's a legal
movement.
tactic if it is, a chest spoil.
He has kicked 2 this afternoon. Luke Darcy. He won't kick 3. Sewell. You'll hear an almighty roar coming up from the Hawthorn fans. It's been a big week for the Hawks. Beaten when they thought they had the 4 points last week in Launceston. They made sure of it this afternoon. They're back in the top 4, and they're back in contention with a demolition of the Dogs. 22-19, 151 to the Bulldogs, 10-7-67.
What a super win. 71 inside 50s to 38. The game was still there at quarter time, even though it wasn't there on the scoreboard. All their structures were in place. Their contested possessions, their clearances, their back line was strong, their midfield was super. Their forward line were terrific. The only improvement, obviously, 2 goals 11 from Lance Franklin. But what about the game from Luke Hodge?
Well, one of the best I've ever seen from him, and he started, like Hawthorn, did a bit slowly. I mean, there's no doubt that they'd established some sort of control of the game, but in the finish, Hawthorn were absolutely dominant.
Well, let's go down to the 6-goal hero, Luke Hodge, who's with Rowan Smith.
Well, Luke, it might have been a little bit of a danger game today, but in the end, it was a very good win.
Yeah, we've had trouble against the Bulldogs the last couple of years just with their superb run, and I think it was a good game for us to close down coming towards the end of the season.
Did you just feel like you were just capitalising on their turnovers just in the second half?
Yeah, earlier on they just ran us off our feet. We had to sort of regroup and got our disposal picked up a bit late in the game, and that's where we hurt them.
I mentioned in the last quarter that you beat them at their own game plan. Was that a plan for you today?
No, we've had a lot of focus on just pressure on sides, and late in the game with our fitness, hopefully run over the top of teams as we've done so many times this year.
Did you speak about the disappointment of last week? Obviously that hurts. Did you speak about that during the week?
Yeah, we did. It was to have that loss against Port Adelaide was frustrating, but look, we went over it, and hopefully next time that situation won't happen again.
But the way you played today, you've got to take some confidence going into the finals now.
Yeah, being a young group, we're always a confident side, so just as long as we limit our mistakes, we are a good side.
Well, you're in the top 4 now. You've got Sydney next week, another tough game for you.
It is. Well, they play finals football, so it's going to be a big step for us.
And your own game today, 6 sensational goals. How do you feel?
Just got a couple of lucky ones there at the end, so...
Look, mate, well done. Congratulations. Good luck for the finals.
34 possessions, 6 goals, 2 to Luke Hodge, and some of the other big numbers. Brad Sewell, 39 possessions for Brad Sewell, and Sam Mitchell, 38 possessions.
That was super. The big stat that I like here, Parker, you talk about the run and carry of sides and ability to run out games. Handball receives. You think the Western Bulldogs over the last couple of years have been super. Hawthorn Football Club today, 188 handball receives, 129. Now, sometimes they can tell a lie, but the handball receives today were breaking the lines. Breaking the lines and getting the ball inside their forward 50 for 71 entries. That is a great thing to have going into the finals.
Oh, Rowan said, I know that Hodgie didn't take it up, but Rowan said you beat them at their own game. And I think they would go away today delighted. A, that they gave the opposition 5-goal start and couldn't. B, their defensive work to put pressure on them. But C, their run, and I think Western Bullies do it as well as anybody, their run, particularly in the second half of the game, has been one of the absolute keys to this team, and they generated that in difficult conditions. I think out there today would have been as warm as anybody's played for a long, long time, and there's not too many weaknesses in that side. We talked about the drumming forward that maybe is not there, but they certainly make up for it in other methods. So a great day for that club, and I think a very, very disappointing day for the Western Bullies.
And a very underrated defence. They're ranked 4th in the competition, so it's great to see Ben Dixon there as we see him getting cheered up. Nearly went over backwards.
That would have ruined his finals chances.
Well, he got Campbell Brown there. I think he's the strong man. Croft nearly lost Ben Dixon there, so that's fantastic to see.
And a real good contributor on the day.
So you can put a line through the Western Bulldogs, but you can put an asterisk next to the Hawks. They are a contender for the 2007 flag. 22-19, 151 to the Dogs. 10-7, 67.